crew neck sweatshirt on, and I like jumped out of the truck because I was at Quade's on Saturday.
Yeah.
And it's like those Freedom machines. It's the
Oh,
Cobra, and like I'm like, this thing's dope. And it's like, it's nice out. Like it's like 60 something degrees right now.
We got that cold winter blast coming though.
Yeah, it's supposed to be ruthless this week. Yeah. I don't want it. Like I just want 7.
How was the one show?
It was awesome.
You know, with the first year being in Vegas, or it's not replacing the show, right?
No, I think they saw what Born Free was doing, and they went Born Free California, Born Free Texas, one show, Portland.
Yeah.
Now they got the Vegas thing, and it was everything that I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't, I haven't been to the Portland one yet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and sneak up there this year because that's coming up in what?
Yeah, April or May?
April, right? I think it's April.
I think it's April, yeah.
Yeah, I think it is April. So I'm gonna try, but I doubt it's gonna happen, but I'm gonna try. But good turnout, saw a bunch of homies that I wasn't sure who I was gonna see. There's some of the locals, the Vegas people, you're never gonna bump into them, but like Magic Mike out there, dude, he had a full spread.
Was he at the one show he was set up there?
Oh yeah. He
because he had AIM Expo going on at the same time.
Yes, yeah. So I think he had like 10 or 12 bikes. I mean, he had a nice little nook over there.
He's a badass, so
Dude, some of his builds are just incredible. And he had the bike that I think he just dropped out there was that black and purple one with the flame.
Well, he had that at Mama Tribe this year.
Oh, he did have it at
early, because I love that bike.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fucking beautiful. I mean, black and purple. Purple's like one of my favorite colors. So.
Purple's one of my favorite. I've got such a special place in my heart for purple. It's like, but yeah, that bike turned out. It's clean,
and it's got like a good stance to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I got a bunch of pictures in the phone. So you're an actual photographer. This is why we love podcasts. And so I am not a photographer. But I'd love to take photos. I did some photography stuff back in college. But with my phone, I probably have like 4 or 5 million photos that I'm never going to look at. And I like go to every event. I'm like, oh man, I'm like getting the right angle, putting filters on it, doing all this. But you're an actual photographer. And like you've got the real camera. You're going out there. Is your phone just filled up with photos? Like, do you do that? Okay. So,
it is. But you're not like... I don't know, like saying real. I mean, anybody's a photographer. It's like it's kind of a weird thing. It describes. It's like I'm a mechanic.
Okay,
I know how to wrench.
Yeah,
I know how to
fair.
take a photo.
That's fair.
I'm not a master mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like what you end up doing is you just kind of as you shoot more, you become more intentional with things that you shoot. You don't just randomly snap 100,000 photos because you do know you'll never use them. And they take up space and that. And then when you get with the big cameras and you're like, once you edit them and put them on your phone, they're huge files. So you can't just willy-nilly it like you can like a camera phone. But at the same time, a camera phone comes in clutch. Like you always have a camera on you. So you can always capture that sunset or, a bike when it's coming by. So it's like, it's got its place. You know what I mean?
I was cruising from, I guess this is when I was headed south out of Vegas. Was I going south or no? I don't remember because I stopped at Krause. So I did one moto in Vegas, and I was out there actually for
Krause is just a little bit north of Vegas.
Yeah, so they're up in St. George, Utah. Yeah. Joe, I cannot remember his last name, but he's one of the engineers over there. So I bought those the Axis triple trees for my Softail build that I'm doing right now. And like there's the geometry, so it's the same rake, but they have their proprietary geometry. The offset is different. And it kind of pushes the wheel out a little bit, more stability, more predictable in the corners. Well, I'm like, I don't want to lengthen my wheelbase on anything right now. If anything, I want to shorten it up. I got on the phone with him and he kind of talked me through it. And he was like, man, just trust me on this. He's like, I've run both. He's like, I've pushed corners. And I don't know how the guy rides. I hope he's not like BSing me. Like I hope he pushes corners pretty good. But he says that I'm going to appreciate it. I'm still wrapping up that build, so I haven't actually gotten to get on the bike. But he invited me to come out and do a full tour of the facility that they had, see all the machines, see new products that they're dropping. And I'm like, well, shoot. I'm in Vegas. I'm right there, hour and a half. So I shot up there.
Yeah.
Did the tour. It was awesome. But maybe it was on my way back down. Yeah, I guess I was headed south. I'm just cruising along, probably playing on my phone, but I'm driving the truck, and I look up, and it's freaking SpaceX, like the SpaceX launch. And so that was one of those situations where, you know, I pull the phone out, and I'm just getting the camera, and I'm watching the video. And I mean, that's like, that was super cool to be able to get that captured on camera.
I got to see that launch when we were out for Born Free Cali. I was there.
Is that the same one that Danger Dan was talking about, or?
Nah, I don't know. I don't know to what point, but
I guess there's more than one launch.
I saw that launch, and they do it pretty regularly. There,
okay,
like once a week or something like that. And it was just kind of crazy because it was like such a different look. I mean, people have gone to like Cape Canaveral, is that how you say it, to see launches before? Yeah. But it's like different now. It's like when you launch on the East Coast and the Earth's turning this way, it's like it's going away from like, you know, does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
So it's going and then it's going to be over the ocean. Yeah. As opposed to when they launch on the West Coast, it's like over land. Yeah. And so like you see these things, and then like even the crazier shit is like, with the re-entering of like the debris that comes from the thing, how it just looks like a fucking like Christopher Nolan movie coming, or, you know, some Star Wars shit. It's like, that's going to become a regular thing that we see the same way motherfuckers used to see an airplane in the sky and go, what the fuck? Yeah. You know what I mean?
And it's going to start happening like more and more and more. Yeah. And, you know, the space stuff is so wild. Like there's like space law degrees that you can get now, because they're already like preparing. Yeah. Like, okay, so if we send people to Mars, do you just stick your flag in the dust? And who has the rights? Who has yeah. So there's like stuff that I never would have thought about. Like they've already got degrees for this stuff. Yeah. And it's like there's some pretty wild. It's wild when you start thinking about, you know, and I hear some people that are like, yo, everything they're talking about doing, like, we can't do it. You know, everybody's saying that. And, you know, and I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'm probably going to be dead, you know, like
for sure. I'll be dead for sure. Hopefully. Yeah. But the other thing is like, I don't know anybody that knows that. Like I mean, why would they be spending all this money trying to do it if there wasn't some possibility of something? I know we're gonna be able to just jump outside in Mars and go walk around with a t-shirt on. Yeah. But I mean, there's the way, even like how they're talking about putting stuff on the moon. Yeah. Like it only makes sense that there's gonna be some way to kind of like justify it.
Something. I mean,
you know? Yeah. But I can't wait till like the space station starts to look like some shit I've seen in like Star Trek and shit. Yeah. That's gonna be dope for me. Like, okay, these little cylinders going everywhere, that shit does not impress me. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or not that I need to be impressed by space travel, but it's like,
okay, you're out in outer space, but let's jazz it up a little bit. Yeah. Like
I
alien
want a
movies.
Cruise in space.
Is like all the alien movies are some of my favorite movies. But you've got like all those space stations like that where they like roll up and stuff. And like that stuff would be pretty dope. But yeah. It's
a weird one. I think when they rebooted Star Trek with like Chris Pine, I thought that was the very first movie. It was pretty interesting point where he was still on Earth, and you could see them building the starships on Earth. And I was like, that's something I'm sure that in other movies, I'm not really a huge sci-fi, everything that's ever came out kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, really neither am I.
But I thought that was a pretty interesting perspective to see. Like, you always see these massive things, but you don't see them like,
you don't think about it like
in compared to like sitting on the ground versus looking up and how big they are. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I thought that was pretty interesting.
So you can tell I'm really caffeinated because here I am like talking about space travel. And I think I was joking with somebody. I'm like, I'm probably, with my drive from Southern California to here, from yesterday to today, I'm probably on like 200 milligrams of caffeine right now. Like just cruising. Just going. But so one moto, I guess, you know, I kind of, darn Elon Musk, you know, took me on that little rabbit trail there with old SpaceX. But yeah, really good show. Like I said, I got to see a bunch of people. And like, I guess that Vegas used to have kind of like their own little bike week, right?
Vegas Bike Week.
And then I heard from some locals that it just got too wild. And that's what do you have any insight on that?
I've been around since it was around. Okay. And, it kind of just fizzled out, but it's like I I don't know, man. How do you have an event at Vegas? Like, it's like if you take Sturgis and you put that in Denver, it don't work.
Yeah.
If you take Sturgis, I mean, like if you can have an event in Vegas, but it really can't be this event where you're like trying to take people's attention away from all this other attention that's there.
It's like one of the most attention-seeking cities
Yeah.
in the country.
And so-
it's just like there's so much to do.
You know, whether you're into gambling or not, like it's hard to go to Vegas and not partake into something that's going on the Strip or the Old Town or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
You know, it's so. And I mean, I'm not going to say it's bad riding there, but it ain't like sought after.
It's not good riding. Like,
You know?
I mean, well, you have to. Well, time of year obviously makes a huge
Yeah.
difference there. You do that stuff in the summertime.
Yeah, it's miserable.
It's miserable. It's terrible.
But it's like I mean, the winters aren't too bad there, but it's at the same
Yeah.
time, it's I don't know. Like I mean, you got Zion, hour and a half north. You got Death Valley to the west. You got the Colorado River and Laughlin and a little bit of like you got cool shit around you, but they're not really day rips and back. You know?
Yeah.
For most people.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, 150 miles somewhere and then do it something and then 150 miles back on an event like Sturgis or something. That's a long fucking day with bikes everywhere and people trying to do the same shit. Like you're not going to make a lot of ground in that.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I've literally 10 years going to Sturgis. I've never been to the Devil's Tower.
I've never done Devil's Tower.
It's
haven't.
like, I don't want
Same
to
thing.
drive 80 fucking miles or 100 miles out there, whatever it is, to see it when I'm going to see it from the highway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you don't get close enough to change the perspective enough, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of like the Mount Rushmore. Like,
I was just thinking
I
about
would
Mount
say you
Rushmore.
should do it because it is kind of an experience. But after you've done it once, like, every year, like I'm going to ride by and see it. Like it's cool.
I go for that ice cream. That's some good ice cream, man. That's like I get an ice cream cone every year I go over
I
there.
swear
to
they
Mount
just put
Rushmore.
ice cream in like weird places and people just assume it's better because it's there.
I think you're just normally you're so frustrated from the ride up there that anything makes it better.
They
You're
got an
like,
ice cream. No, it's
okay.
donuts on top of Pikes Peak. That's right.
Oh, is it donuts? See, I've never anytime that
I
I've tried
didn't
to
make
go up,
Yeah.
the weather's always like it's like snowed in and they shut the gate. And I've tried like 2 or 3 times now, which I've only tried in the winter.
I got like maybe, I don't know, 80 or 90% up there and said, fuck this.
Is it that? See, I've never.
It was just a windy ass day.
Yeah.
There was a lot of traffic on it. And I was loaded. It was on that trip literally 2 days before that picture.
Yeah.
And I just was getting over it. I'm like, man, I'm looking to the left. All I see is concrete and sky. I don't even see the ground. The wind's blowing me all over the place. I'm like, fuck this. This is a good enough view.
Yeah.
So I let the guys go up there and me and some other guys just turned around because we were just sitting in traffic and it was so windy and you're not going fast where the bike really can hold itself up momentum wise.
Yeah.
So you're getting pushed around everywhere. You got to keep your foot off the thing. You're having to brake and and clutch. It was just like
There's nothing enjoyable about it.
I might have had an anxiety attack just because I was so like uncomfortable with all these different things coming at me at once. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I was like, fuck this.
Sensory overload.
I was gonna say it's a
overload.
bunch of variables that are all getting
Yeah.
thrown at you.
But I want to conquer it. I want to go back and do it again. After it was all said and done, I was pretty like bummed. Like, man, I wish I would just push through it. But
Yeah.
I was kind of over it. You know what I mean? So
Man, I want to do it, I guess, just because of the racing side of it, which, I mean, they haven't done that.
I know they haven't done it, but just riding up there, and I know you've done it too. Like, to think that somebody raced down this motherfucker is absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
Have you seen the dudes on the skateboards?
Oh, like the
They'll be on the longboards, and they're going downhill on Pikes Peak, and these kids are just freaking balled up, all tucked, just ripping. And I'm like, yeah, dude. Like they're trying to go faster.
They kick the board sideways to like slow down to make turns.
Yeah.
I'm glad they exist.
I mean, they've got more balls than I do. I wouldn't pull that stuff.
Yeah, fuck that.
Nah, I don't.
You're a professional.
You're one pebble away.
And you're like, fuck that.
You're like one pebble away from that.
That's all it takes.
You know what I mean? But I wouldn't. It'd be dope to longboard down something kind of, more not so downhill like that. More of a downward slope.
Like longboarding has a ton of appeal to me because I snowboarded up until I moved to Texas.
Yeah.
And then I've only done 1 or 2 trips, in the 15, 16 years that I've lived here, which I promised myself I was going to ride last year, and it didn't happen. I promised myself this season I was going to go. I haven't gone.
Where would you go snowboarding? Just like Colorado, or
Yeah, like, I would love to just get back up to like Breckenridge or Keystone, anywhere that strip up there on I-70. There's you can get up there, dude. But I've heard that the rates, like what they charge now compared to even like 5 years ago, I heard it's like you're gonna drop like $500 a day.
Yeah,
it's basically.
I don't go bowling because that shit's expensive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How much a game? Fuck that. I suck at this too.
Yeah, you might just have to hit you some Sandia or some Red River, bro.
Yeah. Which I mean, I'm not opposed to. I'm not sold out on going to like the big name slopes just for the sake of going. So, I mean, and even like all through New Mexico, you get up.
Just
like
saying, you hit Sandia, right outside Albuquerque, or you go to Red River, and it's not bad.
Yeah,
the whole
that's plenty enough for me because I don't, the last time I went snowboarding was Ruidoso back in 2020, and like first few runs, I'm like, whoa, and then I'm back to like carbon good, and I'm close to the end of the day. I freaking am just kind of toe side right on the edge of this little cliff. And I was trying to just run the board right on it. Then I lost the edge. And then I just went like boom, 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 wearing a helmet. Mm-hmm. But I think I've just hit my head enough times that like I've got that like that concussion syndrome thing. I wouldn't even be, because I didn't like hit my head.
Yeah.
And then I got like a migraine. Then I had some amnesia. And that's the last time I went snowboarding, but I couldn't remember any of my friends. I'd like see somebody and I'm like, I think I know you. I don't know why or what your name might be, but I'm having some medical situations at the moment. And so that's the last time I went snowboarding. So, but it won't be the last time. I'll go again.
Yeah, that's all shit I could never afford growing up. Growing up in Dallas, like we played park sports. You know what I mean? If they didn't have it at a park, it didn't exist in my life. You know what I mean? So basketball, soccer, basketball, football, baseball. That kind of shit. But I always think about this joke from Tosh. You remember Daniel Tosh?
Oh yeah, yeah.
He was like, I wonder why, skiing isn't more popular in the inner cities. You know what I'm saying? That's not really the whole joke, but I mean, it's just the concept. But it's expensive. Yeah. Well, it just goes to show that you have expensive hobbies. Is what it kind of boils down to.
Yeah.
That and he likes to do things that he ends up on the ground.
Yeah.
I like the adrenaline. And that's where it started really with snowboarding. That was like my first adrenaline sport that I love. But, I lived up in like central New York and we had like a 20-minute, there's snow everywhere.
Yeah.
And had like a 20-minute drive to like the little local ski hill. And we had a hill in my backyard because like I lived out in the country and like the house that we lived in was like right up on top of this hill. And there's just like all these farm fields around Syracuse, outside Syracuse area, like right there in Central. But the house was built in like, it was like 1890 or something like that. It had like the cupola on top, like the like Victorian stuff. And like it was, I loved growing up in the country. I fished a ton and I just went and I was very lonely. I was the only boy. I was out in the country all the time, just like going on little adventures, like with my dog or my cat. And it sounds weird or not, I said it out loud.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You had a free range cat out there?
I had that free range cat. Yep.
Yeah.
He
the feral cat that you pretended really loved you, but really killed you as soon as it had an opportunity.
Yeah. But
what brought you to Texas?
Man, so I moved to Texas. So not many people know this. I have a degree in youth ministry, and that's what I went to college for.
You got pastor vibes.
We were talking about that. Me and
I've been involved in some sort of like, I did about a decade of like Christian youth ministry, and so I moved here. I was living up in Iowa. That's where I went to college, and I was a full-time construction worker up there. Had my degree, and then got an invitation to go down to Midland, Texas. Sight unseen, I was like, "Yep, I'm gonna move on down to Midland." That was a big surprise because Midland is not what I pictured when I thought about Texas. Like Midland sucks, kind of. Like it's just kind of. I've met some great people there.
Well, it's an industry town, so it's like
it's an industry. That's it. It's just And
It's the concept of like railroad towns
yes.
that, you know, like as the railroad would move across the country and build it, each town that it would establish, it was all about the railroad until it moved on to the next town.
Yeah.
And either the town flourished or it fell apart and just became another stop on the tracks. You know
And
what I'm
even
saying?
like outside of Midland, there's still even smaller towns that are just like that. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's Pyote, Texas, as you're going west on I-20 from Midland. You go Midland, Odessa, and then Pyote's not too far out there. There's there's like an old graveyard of like oil tanks, and they're like all made of wood.
You
I don't know
have Monahans, then you have Peckles,
Yeah.
then you have Fort Stockton and all that.
all those little towns. I mean, so honestly, I love Midland, and there's something like really like that's where you start to get into like the desert.
yeah, big sky too.
But yeah, and it's honestly it's beautiful to go out there and like the sunsets out there. I mean, there's nothing else like it. And then right from there, you go and rip on down like Terlingua. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you guys are going every year now. I've got to get down there sometime.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think that I don't know what's happening with that event. But,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
But, you know, at the most part, it's like you don't really need an event to go experience Terlingua.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't say that the event. I would say the event definitely made the experience a little bit more easier to kind of like know what to do.
Yeah.
It gave you some direction and like a hub to kind of, you know, home base, if you will.
Yeah.
But you really don't need that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've shot down there by myself. Like I've camped out down there. I think I was telling Dan, because I know he loves it down there also.
Yeah.
But I did 2 New Year's. It was like every other New Year's, I guess now. I've been going down and I camped down on Terlingua Ranch.
Yeah.
And it's like you go into town and you've got Starlight and there's that little pizza. Was it Long Draw pizza?
Yeah.
Like there's just, it's kind of hard to miss because there's nothing else down there.
I feel like it's a great place to do like one of those little getaway, little, you know, glamping or those, like, those cave, like,
yeah, dude, there's
Airbnb.
some
things.
of the Airbnb stuff down there. They've gotten really cool. Like there's some awesome spots.
I want to do something with my wife. I want to go down there, do that with her, then do all the sightseeing, but not do like, I don't want to go there with a group of dudes or dudes and their old ladies. And, you know, like that's something I would like, I mean, to just do me and her.
Yeah.
The night sky, you know, it's one of the darkest skies in America.
There's like those the clear domes that you can do where you can just be laying in bed. And I mean, that's one of the biggest skies you'll ever see. It's like Terlingua at night.
Yeah.
I mean, just the stars, and like, you probably want to line it up where the moon's probably hiding, because the moon is bright down there.
Yeah.
Like but yeah, like you lose all that light pollution, and like it's a really special place. But yeah, so that's how I ended up in Texas, man.
So you came down here for the ministry stuff. Like, how did that transpire?
So I worked for that church for about 3 years, and it was, so I am not like a super like typical Midland, Texas guy. I had gauges when I moved here. You know, I was like shopping at thrift stores, and like the church that I was in Midland, Texas was a little bit more like, hey, why don't you like put a polo on? And I'm like, polos are gay.
Yeah.
and I wear polos for work now because I'm like, I have to when it's my uniform.
Yeah.
You know, but there was just some like, oh man, like this is not what we thought we were getting. And so that kind of gave me some of the old like church burn, because I poured everything I had.
That sounds like a sexual reference.
It's a youth camp thing. You know, you got to be careful. You got to shower real good.
Yeah. Well, you're crossing into the Bible Belt down here. So
Yes.
it's just, the South is just way hardcore in that shit. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like even where we live on this side of town, we're on the Bible Belt side of Dallas. Like there's a line in the city where you go north of it, it don't exist that much. Down here, you got every big plots of land is either a huge church that has a TV show or Walmart.
Yeah.
It's like, that's it.
I mean, and that's, and I don't know which one you're going to find like more real Christians in. It might be Walmart.
Yeah.
Because, like and you know, so like I am a Christian, and like, and then people are like, oh, you're religious. I'm like, I don't do religion. Like I'll go to church, but I'm not going to church because I need to like check these boxes, because like in my childhood, that's what it was.
Yeah.
As it was like, this is what you do. And I was like the perfect little kid. I like never cussed. The first time I drank alcohol was like 2 weeks after I turned 21.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like never smoked a cigarette until I was like in my like, I don't know, I was probably like 24 the first time I smoked a cigarette. And like, I was just doing all the right things. But like, that stuff doesn't matter. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. You know, that's not what makes me a Christian. It's like the fact that I have a relationship with Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And it's not just the right things that I do. And so for me, like I do go to church and I appreciate church, but then I also hate church because I feel like it creates like the Bible Belt thing, like you're talking about. I feel like one of the best spots to find loneliness can be walking into a church in the Bible Belt, because it's just people go in and they just like check their boxes and they really don't care that much about what's actually going on around them.
Well, when you have the concept of it for the way that it's interpreted in certain people, it's like paying bills. Like everything in life is easy when you just know if I do this and that's done.
Yeah, dude, that's a really good point.
So the water bills do, the electric bill do, internet bill. So if you do all these things, then you said good. But there's the mentality in it is not, that's not the right mentality to have. Like you said, you're checking those boxes instead of going in there with the, how do I, become a better person? What is it? Like, it's not,
what does that look like?
It's not that drinking or smoking was bad. It's just that, you want to learn how to have a little bit more discipline for yourself and things that you do, and not allow one thing to overpower or become the pagan for, yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And honestly, when I think back to, well, what was it that caused me to leave? Like I was building houses with a really cool group. I was like a father, 2 sons. And then there's this other guy on our crew, and like, we had tons of fun together. We worked really well. We were just knocking all these builds out. And I loved it. I loved Dubuque, Iowa. It's a really old historic town up on the Mississippi River. I had a lot of fun up there. I pretty much just went to work. Then I went to the gym. I was in like the best shape of my life, and I was just having a good time. But like, I had this dream, not a dream, but like I felt something. And I felt like it was from God that I was supposed to use motorcycles to just have a positive impact in people's lives. And I thought it was going to be youth. Like when I moved to Midland, Texas, that's what I thought was going to happen. Is that I was just going to be like, okay, here it is. Just like you had this idea, you journaled about it, and then there's opportunity to go to Texas, and they know that you have some mechanical experience, and they want to go. And I took like some automotive courses. Like through that ministry, they were paying for me to get automotive courses, kind of knocked out. And I have like a basic automotive certificate from Midland College. It's like the JUCO college there. And I learned a lot in that. But I had already done quite a bit of mechanic work on and off. And it looked like I was going to roll right into this like automotive ministry. And then it just all at once just went, and everything just got like pulled out from under me. And really what it came down to is that I didn't look the way that ministry thought the youth leader type should look like. Yeah. Because of the earrings, and because I rode Harleys, and, I drove my old beater 7.3 Power Stroke, blowing black clouds every time I went anywhere. Yeah. And that just wasn't exactly what they were looking for. And so I like you were saying, the whole Bible Belt thing. And so then I got sucked in the oil and gas industry, and I went full-time as a diesel mechanic. And the automotive, those classes that I took, like definitely helped me. And because it was keeping me fresh, working on stuff. And then I went right into fixing diesel generators, and I was kind of freshly married at the time and wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do with that, because I was living out on this ranch for the ministry. And then worked out that like I went from making like $1,500 a month working for a church to, I don't remember what I was making. It was a lot more as a diesel mechanic. And So then I bought a house and then was doing that and had a back injury where I bulged a disc at L4, L5, which sometimes, I don't know if you recall, sends me to the restroom a lot. And like that first time I was on here, you know, I was also drinking beer at the time. And it's like, it's obnoxious. So since I was 29, I've had this and the injury isn't a problem now, but I still have like the symptoms of the nerve damage. But so I was like, whoa, I had a doctor that's like, hey, if you keep doing what you're doing as a mechanic, he's like, you might end up paralyzed. And I'm like, well, that would suck. Like that would really kind of cause a problem for me.
All that snowboarding and shit probably.
That probably didn't help, you know, and now I think I straightened it back out with that last crash. I think
that definitely happens.
You just got to twist it right. But so then I jumped ship and went into like a sales and management position. That was kind of for a competitor of theirs from the company that I was with. And that went really well. And I got to really develop myself professionally because I was just like a little hood rat with my gauges and
just that sales job. This is one thing I've been trying to articulate to my kids, you know, and you could probably attest to this because of the, you know, being the sales job. When you become a salesman, you have to learn how to talk to people.
Oh yeah.
You have to learn how to listen and
listening
talk.
is one of the most important things.
Yeah. Cause it you know, how you respond determines on what you were listening to. Right.
Yes.
And I feel like that could take, like, I keep telling my daughters, like, that can take you a lot further in a lot of things than simply just getting all these certificates and doing all this other stuff.
Yeah. I'm
like, being able to communicate properly and enunciate and all these other types of things, it's like a rare thing. You know, like, I didn't realize how shitty of a speaker I was until you hear yourself on a podcast all the time.
Yeah.
And then you start, you know, like, I'm like, all right, well, how do I get better at talking, right? And so, not that I'm there yet at all, but you know, there's all these exercises learning how to enunciate things. Fortunately, my son is kind of like into making music, so he, through making music, has to focus on the enunciation of each word.
He was already working on it with that.
By making music, it made him work on his speech through that.
That's
even
cool, though. That's really cool.
Not even realizing that he's doing it, right? But he still has the shyness and the that they. I think, you know, I tell people all the time this, and it's like, I think I feel very introverted as a person, but I feel like what I end up doing is not introverted.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like a switch that comes on, and I'm I'll command the room, or fucking, you know, lead the room, or whatever the case, you know, just create an environment, if you will. But I mentally, like, I just don't want to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm an extrovert. Yeah. But the older I get, so I'm an extrovert that had tons of anxiety. And, you know, like when we were kids, you're not looking at your phone and then something pops up on your social media and you're like, yeah, I do have that. Oh, I do have that. You know, you weren't like self-diagnosing yourself.
I didn't know what I had until they came out with all the things later on. I'm like, oh yeah, I got that.
Yeah, like, I mean, dude, ADHD. So I remember going to my mom. I was like 14 and I'm pretty squirrely. Okay. Like, I don't think it's that hard to figure out with me. But I was like, Mom, I'm like, I heard about this ADHD thing. And my mom was like, Charles, ADHD is an excuse. And like, it probably would have served me at that point in my life to at least maybe had a professional opinion to kind of direct.
Yeah. But I had that stuff growing up too. But what I'm like patient zero on that shit. Yeah. Not zero, but like first year, right? When they first started rolling that shit out in schools, I never got put on to the point of putting on any kind of like medicines and stuff like that. But man, like there was a part of like high school where I'm like, fuck, I don't have to do the same amount of work as everybody else does.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to ride this fucking thing out.
Yeah. Really? See,
yeah.
Okay.
So it was like less dyslexia.
So the expectation, so there was like, the bar was set way lower. Okay.
And so, I graduated. So, you know, I don't know how the fuck I did that.
Yeah.
I still had to take the test. You know, there wasn't like a different fucking test for that, but it's like the everyday work was different. You know what I mean? But then there was like things like outside of like when I remember being a young adult, like there were still things they were trying to have me go to.
Yeah.
that I was like, I really don't know what any of this is. And I'd go to this thing and they're like, well, what are you going to do? Maybe we can get you some grant money or something to help you into a career. And I'm like, I never took any of it because I didn't really know what I was going to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just, I'm good at everything else I do. I just wasn't good at those specific tasks in a school that, measured how smart I was.
I sucked at a lot of dude, math.
I
mean, dude, I remember when my nephew was 4, he'd be doing like division problems. Like you'd throw these like ridiculous numbers at him, and I'd have to like pull my calculator out and make sure that he was getting them right.
Yeah.
But like if I didn't have fingers and toes, dude, I'd be in trouble with day in, day out stuff. I just suck at math.
I do too, but like applied mathematics in like
actual, so now that
like using it for construction or
real tangible stuff.
Yeah,
no problem.
Paint, so you have to know how to mix things to write equations. Like,
wait, there's no equation in it. It's like this part, and this. Like
that's an equation.
Yeah, but you're not fucking figuring anything out. It's like you fill it to this line, and then you fill it to that line, you fill it to that line. There's absolutely no math involved.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no answer. There's no equals. It equals.
It's not like some algebraic equation and like Sally has 6 apples, so Timmy bites one. But so all that stuff. Like
if you're cutting 2x4s and you need to get how you're adding up all the fractions.
Oh yeah,
100% that helps. But the fractions help. But you're playing with a limited amount of numbers, right? So you're
and you are using the same numbers most of the time over and over. So like you just become familiar. Yeah. Like I don't think I necessarily was better at math, but I just became familiar with my measurements because I was a carpenter. Yeah. I use my tape measure every day.
And you understand a tape measure very well. You understand that. And so, working with Corey on, doing this chopper stuff, and he's on the lathe and he's taking, thousandths off of the thing. Like now I'm understanding the decimals of the thousandths and that better. And understanding, okay, well, now I know where this goes. Now I understand how to use a micrometer. It's a micrometer, right?
Yep.
Use those. I'm like, this is applied mathematics, right?
Yes.
And to me, that for certain people, like if I would have been able to learn that, I probably would have pursued a career in maybe machining or construction as a kid.
Yeah.
But instead, I fucking hated math, and I was trying to do anything but that, right?
I'll say this too, Jace. I think I'm not an education professional, but I would bet you that if for boys specifically, if you could take those tests, I've noticed that boys tend to be more visual learners.
Yeah.
So if you had the same problem, instead of reading it, and they had it on a table where you could touch it, feel it, they do way better at it.
Oh, yeah.
We just use our hands. That's just what we do to figure things out, and it works a lot better than we just can't visualize it in our head and go, okay, wait, if we move this over here and we follow this little formula, like it just doesn't work for us.
But yeah, so that's kind of, the situation with that. But, they say like everybody that has like the ADHD stuff, it's like you have a hard time staying on focused on things that aren't really engaging your mind.
Yeah. And then, then you find that hyper focus thing.
Yeah.
And whatever it is for you, and you click that button. And I don't know if you're the same way.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I can, when I start working, seriously,
this guy binges everything he does.
Yeah.
One of the best things about the shop that I'm moved into is that the overhead lights are on a 1-hour timer, and there's no way around it. All I have is this dial, and it's just tick, 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 tick. And it's probably going to help me because I don't know how many times it'll be like, okay, it's 7:00, go to bed at a reasonable time, and then you start going and you're digging into it. And then I finally oh man, it's got to be 11:45. And then I pull my phone out. It's 4:15 in the morning, and just everything else shuts off.
Yeah.
When you find that thing, and I honestly, the track, for me, and just when I'm on a bike and you're ripping corners, I think that is kind of being a neurodivergent, that's why I love being on the track. You don't have the luxury of being distracted. And so it's something that I biologically have to stay focused on what I'm doing, and it forces it. And have I ever been distracted on the track? Yeah. And you know what happens? You blow a corner and you go off, and it's you get instant feedback. And so that's I tell people that when I am actually, especially in a race where just everything's heightened. Like track days are awesome. I love to do track days, and I haven't done one in a long time, and I've got to start getting back on the track and getting back on task with that. But when you're actually racing and you're like, especially Moto America level, I mean, it's just everything is just, it's the big show. You know, it's crazy. And you get on the track and that light turns off and you start the race and it's just, there's nothing else happening in the world. And it's just, I don't know. I love that. You know, that's like that space that I get to go to that keeps bringing me back.
That's got to be, you know, a very hyper adrenaline rush kind of situation for that time frame. How many laps is it usually? Like
so in Hooligan, it's 6 to 8, depending on the length of the track.
It'll last what, like 20 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that?
Yeah, like 15 minutes. Like it's, you know, it can feel like a lifetime. Like when I was in the front, dude, those laps, they were the longest laps of my life. Like when you're in the front and I'm not as experienced as a lot of the guys that are out there that are used to leading races. But when you're in the front and you know that there's somebody just like right there every corner. Like Laguna Seca, when I did the B main, that's one that I did crash. But like I got the whole shot and then my buddy Mike Smith caught up. And dude, there's pictures of going through like turn 2 and I've got the inside. I mean, we're like just styled. He's right on me. And like you feel that presence and you got to just like keep looking down in front of you. Not down, but looking ahead of you. Because like as soon as you start thinking about back here, like that you lose it. And that's exactly what I did when I screwed up going into turn 2. Because that's like when you come down the hill, like you clip one and then you go down and then it's like that little sweeper left-hander. Yeah. And I was like,
isn't the first turn like a U-turn?
Yeah.
Does that count as 2 turns?
The first one, there's like just as you're going down the hill, it's just like curbing that you clip. Okay. And so, I guess they changed the pitch a little bit when they did the repave. And so it's like, it pushes you out more. Oh. And
so you're like, fighting. You don't have the banked road.
Yeah. So it's like, it tries to throw you out to the outside more now, but I haven't been on it since they did that repave because last year working the pits with Roland's team and the SDI team. So, but yeah, like, I don't know, just, it's been such an interesting road from like from moving to Texas, thinking I was going to do youth ministry. Like,
what year was it when you moved here?
2009.
Okay.
Yeah. So
what was your bike life from 2009 until you got the bug to go jump on a track?
Oh my gosh, dude. So I moved here with a 1980 Ironhead Sportster that I picked up for like $2,200.
Damn, that's too much.
That was way too much.
Even for
that was in 2009, dude. Yeah. Like I saved all summer, you know, like not making much money working construction. Yeah. And I'm like, I gotta buy a bike. And so I bought an Ironhead Sportster, $2,200. And I just thought I was the coolest thing ever, man. Just ripping around, had my bandana, and it was
youth minister on
the youth
with the gauges. He definitely thought he was King Cool.
Oh, dude, it was great. And then I moved to Texas, so it kind of puked a little oil at the head gasket. Well, it got hot enough down here that the thing was actually starting to lose compression. And so then I went and started tearing into the thing, had no idea what I was doing. And I was working part-time at a bike shop. I've got like my adopted dad over in Midland, and it's Runkey's Extreme Cycles, but Mike Runkey owns it. He's got 2 boys that they're like my brothers basically out there in Texas. And one of them lives down like Temple area now. Okay. And then the other one works with his dad there at the shop. But they're the ones that just convinced me to buy a dirt bike, which have you done any dirt bike stuff?
No.
It's the dumbest thing that I've jumped into at age 40. I went right out, bought a dirt bike. It was my 5th time on a dirt bike. They're like, come do a hard enduro. I'm like, I'm a pro racer. How bad can this be? I crashed so many times and I was in so much pain, and like the arm pump that I had, and like I didn't finish the race. I made it like 30 of the 47 miles, But the thing starts and it's like a little hole shot and you're on this cobblestone rock. And you're like, blah, 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 blah. And then it just does like a 5-foot drop into rocks. And the whole rest of everything is just verticals and like all these vertical inclines that you got to roll up. And I had one where I didn't give it enough throttle and I was like, I just fell over.
Yeah.
And everybody goes by, you okay? I'm like, no, my bike's on its side. And they don't care. They just want to act like they care. So yeah.
Move, nerd.
Yeah, I mean, basically, that's really what it is.
I always tell people like
you're fucking up my line.
Yes.
I don't have there's just nothing in me that's like it doesn't excite me.
Yeah.
Now there's the thing, like the things I want to do traveling wise, there are some parts that will require dirt riding and I'm interested in that part of like getting from point A to point B and being able to see things that are kind of off the beaten path. That's something I like.
And that's cool. Like that's really cool. And what I'm going to do with that dirt bike is I'm going to put some supermoto wheels on it and I'm going to practice my track stuff on it. And I'm sure I'll do some dirt bike stuff, but I'm still going to ride because it's a completely different discipline. And it's like all the movements are literally backwards from road racing. Like road racing, you want to stand the bike up and get your head out as far as you can. And then on that dirt bike, you just tip the thing the direction you want it to go and you just throw your leg out.
Yeah, and that's when I did ride a dirt bike. And I my first bikes I ever rode and learned on were street bikes, like Gixxer 1000s and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
So
yeah.
Jumping on a dirt bike is literally everything that you don't want to happen on a street bike.
Exactly.
Is normal on
that's
a fucking
what you
dirt
want
bike.
to happen on the dirt. And
I think it makes you a way better rider.
Way better rider.
You know what I mean? Like you, I mean, when I say what I said a while ago about no desire to it, it doesn't mean that I don't appreciate or think that the people that do ride dirt aren't.
Oh yeah, it's sick. Like what those guys can do, especially like the pro level stuff. Like Cody Gilmore, that's doing all the BRL racing. Like he was an old Supercross guy. That dude it doesn't matter what bike you put him on.
Yeah.
Bobby Fong, Kyle Wyman. I mean, you've got James Rispoli. Either they were flat track guys that have track stuff and then they're just doing track now. But all those guys that are like Tyler O'Hara, you watch his videos, that dude's on the dirt, I think every weekend.
Nice.
I think he's got a circle track and he's got trail riding that he does, but he does all this flat track stuff out there at his property. And like those are the dudes that are mopping up in King of the Baggers and Hooligan. Like it's a dude, I mean, and it's seat time, but everything, the more comfortable you are, because like you get on dirt, that rear tire, like you're never planted. I mean, to a point, like it's always squirting around underneath you. And so when you develop just becoming comfortable with that, then you get on the track on these big V twins and these things are just going all over the place underneath you. It's just, you're just used to it. You're just used to the bike moving that much. Where if you're a street rider and then you get on the track and you're on a big V twin and you double downshift into a corner and you don't rev match the right way, that rear tire breaks loose as you're coming in and it just like a freaking noodle, dude. Like, and I mean, and it's fun when that happens, honestly. But it catches you off guard the first time it happens. Where if you're a dirt guy, like, you're home.
You get a couple beers in me, leaving the bar, I'll get it sideways.
Now you're a dirt guy. You're like,
watch this. No,
I've done, man, and I've been sober for 2 years now.
Yeah.
Which that was a whole getting into oil and gas and doing the sales thing. A huge part of that job is you're out golfing, you're out drinking, you're going to networking events, and you're buying people beer, and you're getting all freaking twisted up all the time. And I have lots of stories of that. And then the year that I was with Lyndall, 2022, I mean, I went from like event to event to event, just camping out and drinking. And man, I'd roll in on Friday and somebody go, "Hey, Charlie, you wanna?" I'm like, "I sure do.
Yeah.
I love free alcohol. That's my favorite flavor." And I'd get, I'd put the work in. And
what made you want to get sober?
Man, so it was a whole slew of things. But there's pictures of me. Yeah, this is at was it TNMR that Tennessee motorcycle. So I went from racing at Salt Lake.
Yeah.
And so I just built my 2017 Dyna Lowrider S.
Yeah.
Honestly, I got real drunk one night and I bought the Screaming Eagle 117 kit for the 110, which is actually a really good kit. Like the cam that comes with it is pretty good. Like if you get the tuning right, because they get hot. Like that's the only thing with that. You got to make sure that it's tuned correctly because they get really hot. So little drunken purchase, accidentally bought the graphite cylinders instead. So I had to go and, do a little high heat enamel on there, get those all straightened out. Got that bike built, and then I was going up to Utah to race. And so my buddy was trailering my race bike. I'm like, well, dude, I got break-in miles. I mean, how often you get to do break-in miles on a bike and have a trailer in front of you?
Yeah.
So if something goes wrong. So I hit 500 miles. We pull off at a gas station, load it up on the trailer, get up there. I do the oil change. He leaves with, or maybe, actually, I think Brandon Quaid, I think the Quaid guys took my race bike for me out to California for the next race. And then I ended up jumping on the Dyna after that first oil change, 500 more miles back down to Durango, rolled right in, had them do the service. And then I was just ripping on that bike. So I went from Salt Lake to Durango, up to Grand Junction, and then all the way across to Nashville, basically, for TNMR. So I'm out there. I roll in for that event, and I'm just drinking away. And I rode my bike down by the creek.
Yeah.
Well, it's all that pea gravel stuff. And when I had parked my bike, I was sober. A few hours in, I try and ride my bike out of there. And somebody, do you know Mad Stork? So I love Ken. And I think Ken was like, ho, gotcha, Charlie. And it's me just falling over my bike because I'm on gravel, which wasn't helping, but I was so drunk and I'm trying to ride my bike out of there.
But you're staying on the grounds though, right?
Oh, yeah. No. I was just moving my bike.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't like going out riding like that. But so I had that moment. And then there's a flat track racer. Her name's Mallory. She's out of Austin. And
I think I've met her too.
She's been to events and stuff.
I've met her somewhere. Yeah.
But she's been around to like some of the Texas events and stuff. But she's next to me at that bar, and I'm just buying drinks for anybody that wants them. I'm a real generous guy, especially if I'm, all
already
torn up.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, hey, you want a drink? And she's like, oh, no. I'm like, why not? She's like, oh, I don't drink. I'm like, at all? Like there's something wrong with her, you know? And she looks at me and she goes, it doesn't serve me. And dude, those words, and I knew she was a pro racer.
Yeah.
And I'm there trying to go pro at that point. I was still just doing BRL and I hadn't actually gotten in and done any of the Moto America stuff. And dude, like those words just like would not get out of my head.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't shake that off. And then the turning point is that King Tony had his birthday. Is that in like June or something?
Yeah.
So I went to that event and that's where I got to ride with Mark for the first time.
Oh, Texas Performance Mark?
That dude rips. Like I had a hard time keeping up with him on his 124 that he had built on that Softail.
Yeah.
And man, but we were just zipping in and out of traffic on 40. We went from Busted, or what's Tony's shop? It's not Busted.
Rebels Den.
Rebels Den, yeah. We went from Rebels Den to then go and meet with Tarpon and then Juan.
Yeah.
And so we went riding all over, met up with those guys for mimosas, and then we came riding back. And I've been drinking some, probably more than I should have been doing that. And then after that whole weekend, so my family's out in Arkansas, so I ride off to Russellville where my family's at. Well, it's like 1 a.m. and I'm rolling into town. All my family's like, leave us alone. We are sleeping.
Yeah.
It's 1 a.m. Well, I found a pool party because I've been hanging out around Russellville for a while. So I just keep on drinking. And long story, kind of long still, but yeah, basically I let some random chick brand my butt. And
like brand or tattoo?
Brand. Like heated up metal.
Okay.
And put it into my flesh. And it was an A for Alyssa. I have no idea who she is. I don't know where she is. But I didn't think that the light. So like I was bumming cigarettes off my buddy, and we're using this little Bic lighter. And we could barely light the cigarettes. So at 4 a.m, after I'd been just drinking Grey Goose out of the bottle, I'm like, there is no way that due to the laws of thermodynamics that this lighter will have enough heat in it to transfer into this piece of metal and brand my buttocks. That's what I was thinking. And I was very wrong. And it took three pokes, it was
got a little A farm on your ass.
Little A for Alyssa. And by the grace of God, it's healed. But dude, I woke up the next day and I looked at my butt in the mirror and I'm like, dude, you're 37. Like, what are you doing?
You're making up for all those.
Yeah, man. All those years, I was making up for sure.
I mean, I definitely, feel your pain on that because I think on my 21st birthday, you remember those Smirnoff? Remember that?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I got a big 40 of that. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do this finally.
Yeah, man.
And I didn't like it. I didn't even drink the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then I still never smoked a cigarette. I've been doing drugs more so lately than I ever have. But I grew up, playing sports, and I saw a lot of I saw a lot of where the path where alcohol, drugs, and all these things lead to, certain people. Then other people, they're fine. And then I realized, okay, there's certain people in the world that can drink forever. They can do the hardest drugs you ever thought and wake up and go to work the next day like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
And then there's others that can't. And so I just stayed away from everything. And I still, I don't seek out any of that stuff. But some of the great times in my life, it does consist of alcohol. But I understand where you're getting at of okay, when that's the only reason I'm going somewhere or it has to be the thing that is a part of everything that I do, I don't like that kind of control.
Yeah. And I don't like to be controlled by anything, honestly. And so, I think with the alcohol thing, I started, so I was married, got a divorce, and the end of that marriage, that was probably the only time in my life that the end of that marriage, the last maybe 6 months, and then I bet for probably a year or two after that, where I was actually using alcohol as medication, where it was I don't want to feel what my nervous system is trying to get me to feel. Yeah. And man, I have a heck of a lot of fun when I'm drunk. Yeah. And I wasn't conscious of that, but subconsciously, that's what I was doing. And I'm at a point now, and this is just where I'm at, that I love my life so much that I don't want to miss any of it. And I used to be excited to get away from it, when I was in that time period of my life. And so for me, my sobriety now is it's a whole bunch of different things, but me as a Christian, Bible says, man, you can drink. There's nothing in there that says thou shalt not have a drink. But you have to be honest with yourself. It says don't get drunk. And I think most of us know the difference between I can have a few drinks and I can have I don't even know if it's I got a little buzz going and I'm cool, or I remember the first time I'm laying in bed and the room's spinning and you don't want to shut your eyes because you're about to puke. I did that. I've done that. And so just me as a Christian and being obedient to the word of God is okay, well, I'm not going to get drunk, and I am capable of drinking. I could go have a beer and then stop. I did that for years, even in the times where I'd go, I knew exactly what I was doing. There were some nights where I'm just I'm just going to do this. I'm going to get fucked up.
I kind of put an unrealistic expectation on myself for this month. Yeah. But I have done better than it would have been if I didn't put that expectation.
Okay. Hey, but dude, if that's progress.
I haven't been drinking during the week. Yeah. So we went out us and our ladies all went out Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Had some drinks, and it was, Craig was in town.
Yeah.
And that was cool. Like I wasn't hungover the next day. The weekend before the Polar Ride, or 2 weeks ago, that was a completely different story.
Yeah.
But I mean, I hadn't drank in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, for me, the reason I've been considering wanting to be sober, which I don't think I could do it 100%, because of the networking and the way, like, there's some podcasts where
I've been in here on them. I've sat in here.
Some people need a drink, and then you kind of feel the like, I need to do this with them.
Yeah.
I need to shaman them through this experience.
I love when you have podcasts, or I remember, I think it was at the Polar Ride, you were fucked up, and you turned to somebody and you said, I don't know how this fucker has the discipline to sit in here while we're getting fucked up during a podcast and he don't drink nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was that?
Me.
Oh.
Yeah, he doesn't drink much.
Rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might see him with a beer here and there.
Yeah.
But you don't see him
They
fucked
look
up.
at me wild when I have a beer in my hand.
Yeah.
But like, I do know that I can go out and say, I'll go to bike night. I'm gonna have maybe a couple drinks, I'll go home. Nothing wild, right? And I haven't got to that point where every time alcohol touches my mouth, I'm like, it's fucking go time.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have control over it. But I guess the reason why, what I was getting at is, like, the reason I want to, like, really hinder how much I drink and when is because of the performance side of things. Like, I feel, being 42, I think now,
I don't keep track anymore.
Yeah, after you hit
I don't
40,
want to know.
You really don't want to know.
You're talking about,
I'm alive.
Focused. I think I'm 42.
It's irrelevant information.
Yeah.
But I know that, like, I can't, like, I used to be able to, I remember I used to do, like, some of my best sketches for paint jobs, some good writing. I used to do so much creative shit off a drink or two. And then now I just, that doesn't click into that creative part of me anymore.
Yeah.
So drinking doesn't help me be creative. And now when I do drink, like, if I have a couple drinks here and I go home tonight and I need to work in the garage, I'm not getting shit done.
It's actually, like, gone the other direction.
It's the other direction now. So, like, for me, I've just changed my relationship with, alcohol, and it's a process. But, like, doing this Indian thing tomorrow, I'm sure that there will be alcohol involved at some point in time.
Yeah.
Which I'm not, I'm not saying that I don't want to go there and get fucked up and make an ass of myself in front of people.
Don't go.
You know what I really fucking think?
Don't go full blown.
Flip the table over and, like, y'all should have invited me.
Harley for life.
But and then when I get to Mama Tried this weekend, I know that I'm gonna turn up there. But then when I get back next week, like, I know I got a lot of shit to do before Nitty Gritty and all these other things going on. So it's like, I want to be able to turn that switch back off and get productive and focused on tasks at hand.
Yeah.
And I think maybe not alcohol getting out of hand in the moment. Maybe it gets out of hand in the frequency of drinking, like, more than so many times a week or whatever the case. And my wife's, like, really good at it too, where she's like, you know what? I don't want to drink it all this month. I kind of forced her to drink Saturday. She didn't really want to. And she just sipped on a couple things and kind of like kept it cool. Yeah. But I'm with you on that.
Yeah. And that is something that I've always been somebody, like, I have fun no matter what.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty high energy. I love, like, I'll get around people. Now, the thing that does suck, and I don't know if you can relate to this, there's a certain point in the night where, you start off and everybody's kind of at this level, and then they keep drinking, and then they get up there. Everybody's spitting in your face, whether they try to or not.
Yeah.
They're spitting. And the thing is, like, the touching. The drunker people get, the more they're like, and I'm ADHD, so I'm listening to you, but, like, something happens over here. I'm still listening, okay? But I just got to look over here, and I got to look over here. And every drunk person, hey. And they just, like, think that because I'm ADHD and I'm looking around that I'm not listening anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's times where, like, I'm just like, touch me one more time. And just, like, but yeah, like, and just staying up late in general, like, like, the times that I go out with people and they're partying and they're like, we're taking this to 2 a.m. I just crack open a Red Bull and I just chug the first one and then I sip one. And that's the only way that I can do it now. Because I get tired. Like, because I'm like 40, 41, 42, you know, I'm like, so I'm one of those ages now.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just, I can't just stay up. Like, you know, I would imagine that you're like chemically tricking your body and like, because like when you're not drinking, your body's like, yo, bro, we're releasing melatonin. Like it's time to sleep. And you probably, with all the alcohol.
Man, I sleep better with alcohol.
Oh yeah.
But my natural, like even, I guess because like, I don't, you know, if you had like a work schedule in your life where you say you have to wake up at 5, 6 in the morning, get out of the house at work by 7:30 or 8, whatever it is. And then you have that schedule where you're there. And then especially at this time of year where like you're getting off work and it's dark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you come home and then you like have this in your head, like, okay, well, I can't start any kind of task that I want to get into. Like if I wanted to start editing a video and it's going to easily have 6 hours, I couldn't start that at 6 p.m. because I need to be in bed by like 9 or 10.
Yeah.
And so for me, you know, when my schedule here is like, okay, well, I try to get here by 10 every morning, but I'm up till 2 in the morning every night.
Oh yeah.
Because I get the most shit done, or I get to give myself like, all right, I'm going to go play a video game for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Or watch a movie, or I'll be in the garage working till fucking 3 in the morning. So it's like, but naturally I'm up at 8 o'clock every morning without an alarm clock. I have myself 2 hours in my house getting ready to go to work. And sometimes I'm out within 30 minutes. Sometimes I'm fucking coming up on 10 o'clock. I'm like, oh, I need to fucking go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
when you stay up till 2, like, are you drinking sometimes?
no, I never drink.
Okay.
No.
So that's just like,
It's just my natural,
Yeah.
like 2 to 8. So 2 a.m. What's that? Fucking 6 hours.
yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of like my sleep pattern that I have. And I don't ever take naps. I'm never like tired during the day.
Yeah. I'm a napper. I can nap.
You know?
And I also drank almost this whole bottle of water. So I'm going to
Yeah,
go to
I gotta
bed.
go pee too real quick. Yeah, so you know, like Danger Dance podcast, it was a good. You really talked about like your whole like wanting to get into racing, the promise to your dad or you know
Yeah.
yourself almost.
Yeah.
What was that like jumping through the hoops? Like what kind of hoops were there for you to have to kind of like pull that off? You know what I
Oh my
mean?
gosh. Just,
I mean,
Some
you're in
of the-
West Texas.
yeah.
I want to go race now. What's your first step?
So the hard thing, if I would have started trying to do the track stuff when I was in oil and gas, because like I mean, I make good money in oil and gas.
Yeah.
Okay. When I was working as an outside sales guy for Lindell, I was making some money.
Yeah.
I'm not getting rich. You know,
Well,
like it
that's-
was.
you-
it's the
just the way
trade off.
this world
It's a
is,
trade off. You know, you want a passion driven industry, and so when I first started racing, and I did have money saved up from oil and gas, and so I was able to go and take. I was going to buy a cabin, like, and I still have that desire, you know, because my family's out in Arkansas, so probably Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah.
Eventually, and I need to stop waiting on this because
It's getting expensive up there.
it used to
blowing
be
up.
dirt
Yeah.
cheap. It used to be like $1,000 an acre,
Yeah.
and like now it's like 10,000 an
Yeah.
acre. Like it's gone up, and it's that show Ozark. That's really what it was.
Made that area go off?
Because all these California people that were like bailing on California, they're like, oh, the Ozark Mountains, this is what it looks like because of that show. And it's not even filmed in Arkansas, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
but
Well, that was on the Lake Missouri. Though.
yeah, it's on the Missouri side, but
Yeah.
it was so cheap in Arkansas and it looks the exact same. I mean, it's gorgeous up there. And so,
Well, you have some huge corporations too. I mean, the company I work for is there. Walmart is
Walmart,
there.
yeah.
Tyson Foods is there.
Tyson, oh my
And
gosh.
so all
It's a
these-
college town too. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot going on up there. And so I mean, eventually I want to do that, but I took that money that I had set aside and put that all into the racing. But so like, what did I have to do to get started? I mean, it was just, I sacrificed everything. I basically stopped going to events. I stopped spending money on anything that wasn't racing. I mean, it was like 2
Well,
years.
what were you doing on your bike? Like we were kind of talking about it earlier, but like leading up to 2020.
Oh yeah.
Like what was your bike life? Like what got you onto a Dyna and all that type of stuff, you know?
So, you know, I had the Iron Head when I first moved to Texas, and then, you know, I started taking that motor apart, and then Runke's Extreme Cycles had an O2 lowrider, and I got a really good deal on that bike and needed a paint job. And so that was the first time I painted.
Yeah.
And I was taking the automotive classes. So I had Iowata spray guns at my disposal. I had a full booth. I had mixing. I had like state of the art, and so I was able to go right in and, I'm not just like shade tree, in the backyard. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I had some people that were kind of watching me, helping me. And so for a first paint job, like it was decent for a first paint job. And I was able to go in and get that bike put together. And I was talking with, who was I talking with the other? It was Heath Pinter with Saddleman. And he's talking about selling bikes, selling this, selling that. He's like, I've never looked back on something I sold and wished, man, I should have kept that. I can say that except for that O2 lowrider. That bike, because I put ape hangers on it and I like it stock suspension, forward controls, like a little like hell yeah brother bike. And I would love to have a second chance at an O2 lowrider and like actually build it, something that I would want now. And I was looking for them for like a 01, 02, or just an FXDX or something. But yeah, so I ended up on that Dyna and really had nobody to ride with. I mean, I was just out there in West Texas. There's nobody out there. And then really I had that the back injury. That took me off a bike for 6 years.
Damn.
And I didn't get back onto a bike until, of my 20 years of riding, 6 of them, I was out for that back injury. But then in 2019, from Runkey's again, they sold me an '07 Street Bob that was hideous. It was painted like pink and gold leaf. It had, the rear fender didn't fit it. It had like a Springer seat, Springer front end, like the big wide ape hanger bars on it. And it was around 2019, and then we rolled into 2020. And by the time I really started working on the bike, it's full out COVID, and I'm working on this thing in my garage, and I'm like, man, how much money do I want to spend right now on a Dyna that I bought for $3,500? And I'm like, man, I think I'm just gonna paint this thing, do a little of this, a little of that. But I kept the Springer front end. I kept the Springer front end on the Dyna Street Bob. With like the 16-inch wide, 16-inch high bars. Like, it was so bad. And put forward controls on it. But I was watching like the Indian Larry. I'm divorced at that time, in the house by myself, and it's COVID, and I'm just watching all the biker build-offs just over and over and over, kind of looking for inspiration on what I'm going to do on this bike. And I'm like, well, shoot, it's already got a Springer on it. So I did like the vertical flames. So it was like teal with like a white pearl flame that came up. I put like the Question Everything logo on it. And then 2020, I rolled into Sturgis for the first time. And that's like Bobby Seeger. He and I had kind of become Instagram friends because we're just posting all these conspiracy theory things, sending them back and forth. And we were just memeing, just memes all the time. And Bobby's, I know probably one of the coolest dudes I've ever met, but he's hilarious. Like, Bobby's a really funny guy. And so
any dude that can tell a joke with a New York accent is like extremely like 10 more points funnier than anybody else.
So much funnier. Like, just
the heavier the accent, the funnier the joke is. Same joke for me.
There's no question.
No laughs.
Yeah.
That dialect, if you will.
Yeah.
Bro.
I love going up there to New York. Like, just going up to Brooklyn and seeing all the Indian Larry, and like, there's such a good group. That's just that whole area. And like, but yeah, so Bobby got me kind of tied in, and I did the Indian Larry ride, the Aiden's ride at the 2020 Sturgis.
Okay.
And I like roll in, and I'm like, my buddy had like an R6, and I'm on my Dyna with the Springer front end that has freaking Question Everything logo on it. And like Sal, I think it was Sal, like looks at my bike, and he's just like, what is, like, who do you think you are? Like, throwing India Larry's logo on this bike. I had his little derby cover on there. But Bobby was super cool to me. And then I met met Frank and I met Chris and just all these other guys that ride with them. And that was like the first group of people that I met in the scene. And then I started to get more tied in off of that. And I started to meet people. And then I like met Frank, who had like Hard Rider, and Frank was doing the track stuff. Yeah. And then I met Brendan Murphy, 113% through Frank. Yeah. And then it was just kind of, it just started to build off of that. So it started with me, I didn't think about this, but really it was me building a 07 Dyna Street Bob with a Springer that ultimately got me on the track. So by just kind of meeting the right people and buying Indian Larry parts. And
yeah, I mean, it's funny how that works, right? Like, yeah. I think it's very rare that you just wake up one day with like this full out plan, direction, goal.
Oh yeah,
laid out. It's more like you go here and it bounces you over to this and that, and it ends up kind of like narrowing down the path to where you're going to end up going. You know what I'm saying? And no, that's rad. I didn't know how. I mean, that's the power of Instagram. I'm sure that part of Instagram still exists, but I feel like I've had a hard time with it. I guess maybe it's because I don't really have the time. I mean, I just don't have the desire to spend that much time on there.
Yeah.
Like, I like interactions like this more than the internet, you know?
Well, you know, and like I've got my buddy Wade with Speedworks. You know, like he used to be with Speedworks, and then they kind of trashed like the performance shop that they had, and he went out on his own. And like Filthy Wade, I don't know if you know if you've met him or not, but he's down there in Melbourne, Florida. But
I feel like I don't know him personally. But
you probably, I'm sure you've seen it. Like he had that the Pig Slayer. He had one of the Road Glide like kind of cop bikes.
Yeah.
And so he had that bike. It was a really cool bike. But you know, we were talking here recently, and he's like, man, it's just not what it used to be. It's like it's more about just taking a picture and making a post than about just riding your bike. And it's like, it's just kind of started to lose like what it really started for all of us of just getting on your bike. Yeah. Whether you're with your homies or you're just like, I've done a lot of solo trips. And that's one thing with the racing. I haven't gotten to do the solo trips. I went to Born Free back in June. And I mean, that's the last trip I've done. That was really that's the only trip I did that year. Like in 2024. I did some little things here and there, but I mean, I would like anything I'd actually talk about. Yeah. I did one ride, and, you know, in 22, I did 35,000 miles, you know, so to go from 22, which that was the first year I started racing. Financially, just total devastation, racking up every credit card I could find. Yeah. I mean, I'm when I make a decision that I'm like, I'm all in, like there's nothing that will stop me. Yeah. And that was one of those things where I'm like, I'm going to race. And I'm just like working for Lindell, picking up accounts all over the country. Like I was in 27 states in 10 months. 20 of those states.
I saw you everywhere.
I was everywhere. Yeah. I was like, I made a good percentage of like all the shows and rallies.
That's also the salesman. You created a network by doing so.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's like, I had to show up because I felt an obligation to the company that I was with, but then also, I mean, if you want to make sales and it is tough. It's tough to rep. Like it's tough to rep one company. Like I know people that kind of have like, they got the quiver.
Yeah. A lot of people. There's a lot of those. Like
you'll have 4 or 5.
Instead of having like, if you're like, say you're California based, right? Like it makes sense for you to have 5 or 6 of the brands, and then you go out and you pass over the desert and the Rockies, and you go out to these other areas. Exactly. And you're not having to be funded by one brand. Yeah. You know, you're actually helping a collection of brands get into different dealerships and, you know, educating people on products and things like that. So
I think that works better. Like when you're like more like contract sales position. Yeah. I think you kind of have to do it that way. I mean, Mark's done awesome. Yeah. You know, Mark's doing it for Lindell now. But what Chico told me, because like they made mistakes with me on how to present that sales position. And I'm glad that Mark didn't have to, like, I couldn't touch any accounts that had been active within 6 months. And so every sale I made was an account that I did the whole process.
Well, it should be like whatever region that you have, every account within that region should be a percentage.
And that's how it is now. And so
that's how sales works.
Yeah. So and it's
because you're going to have to be the one that you're the point of contact for a region. So maybe you didn't set that account up, but now you're the guy that's going to be.
You're the interface. You're the one that's in there.
You keep cultivating that relationship.
Exactly.
To keep them
exactly. Yeah. You got to pull the weeds and you got to keep watering. Like I love the farming analogy. Like
the only thing I would say, like I love Lindahl. I've ran him for years.
I love everybody.
They need to let Mark handle marketing. Mark's good at marketing.
Yeah,
he really is. Like he's very plugged in. Maybe not let him handle it, but they need to change some things, in my opinion. Not because it's bad. It's just that like
there's room to grow.
There's room to grow, and there's so much untapped potential with that brand.
Yeah,
and maybe it's because they're trying to stay within like a production. You know, maybe they don't have the production to follow with more attention. You know, that would come from.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
but you know, it's such a rad brand. Great wheels, great brakes. I've ran them for years.
I love their stuff. I mean, I do. They're my homies. Yeah. It's, you know, I personally I've never had an issue. Like I can. And I wouldn't say, I'm a very honest guy. If I had an issue, I would say it.
Well, I've been running Lindahl stuff since 17.
Yeah.
And there was just one year where it wasn't really their fault. It was just a bad, I mean, at the end of the day, it's their fault. But it was a bad batch of rotors.
I do remember that.
It was the metallurgy in it. It just wasn't right. And they were dealing with the manufacturing issue with that. And then they got it worked out. Like I did have a set of rotors here and there that had a problem.
Yeah.
Right. But then after that one little time, I never had another issue. And I've, I got 22,000 on the FXR chopper right now.
Yeah.
Those are on the same carriers. So different friction ring,
but
same carrier from when it was on that bike, which that bike had 22,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
So these rotor carriers got like 40-something thousand miles on it, and they're still braking and running fine, right?
Well, that's one of the biggest questions that people ask. They're like, whoa, you're taking stainless. And it's like, I can't remember the actual type of stainless that is. It was a very specific, it's a Japanese steel. And you're running, it's interlocking into aluminum.
Yeah.
And you're putting torque and force on it. Like, isn't it going to eat the carrier? And like,
well, the way that he does that with the amount of interlocking deals, I don't know the correct term for it, but
I'm rusty.
It's transferring the energy in a different way.
Yeah.
So it's not like if it was like a five lug type situation. It's such individual ones. It's kind of like a fine thread versus a coarse thread.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's just, it's being, the force is being dispersed so much throughout the entire carrier.
Yeah.
Where if there were less of them, then
you would have a bigger point.
So like, I mean, dude, So yeah, I mean, I don't remember how I got on Lindahl.
Well,
those guys, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're the best. I'm glad when they moved to Texas. That was awesome.
That was such a good move for them.
Yeah.
Dude, their setup now
it's dope,
down there on Ranch 12, like, I mean, the warehouse. Yeah. And they're kind of hippie. Like, and they're doing really cool stuff with that property. Like they're going to be putting in like RV slots and stuff. And I think they've got a garden going. Like Jennifer and Paul, like at their house, like they've got this awesome garden. Like I love them. They're great people. But,
yeah, we were talking about the sales. Oh, you were selling for Lindahl.
Yeah. So
what about trips? You said in 2022 you did like 35,000.
35, yeah. And so some of the sacrifices of the racing is just not getting to really live like racing. If you want to race in Moto America, like it's like a job.
Yeah.
If you want to work in the pits, it's a job. Like my vacations, even last year, like vacation, I went to the track and I worked.
Yeah.
Like and you bust your butt. Like you roll in and you're doing your real job. You get flown into the track. Somebody picks you up. You're probably rolling in at 1 a.m. and then you're at the track 7 a.m. Got to set up everything, go and get the bike through tech. And then it's just boom, 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 boom. Have a little downtime. And then you're back at the track. Sometimes it's 6 a.m. the next morning, depending on what time you're actually going out for your first practice run. And so it's just, it's a huge time commitment. And you just have to know that you're going to make really big sacrifices.
Like once again on the Danger Dan podcast, you were kind of talking about this, and I've had some very strong opinions about like the whole organizations.
Yeah. We've talked about that before, man. And like,
how long do you think they got? All of them.
So Moto America with King of the Baggers and Super Hooligan, because Moto America is already there and was already drawing some level of a crowd, like Hooligan is still growing so much. I think Hooligan, just because of the amount of manufacturers of the bikes that are actually getting into it now. Because on the King of the Baggers, how many bagger options are there?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you got
when I ask how much or how long, it's not. I'm not trying to be a doomsday kind of guy with this thing. I just feel like there's such a, and you alluded to this in Danger Dan's podcast. There's so much of a cost, a barrier of entry.
Oh yeah,
that it's not realistic for even small brands. I mean, when they started BRL, it was easy to see this. There was a ploy to help push more drag sales through drag. It was supposed to only be drag specialties dealers that were building bikes for this, and then it turned into all these other things. Because remember, they were doing the announcements. Oh, John Jessup's building a bagger. And all these people. And then you get some guys like Tony Tucker who go hard, $100+ grand in this bike.
Tony went in so deep,
and then there's
he's still going.
Or privateers like Steve Chamberlain and stuff like this. And I mean, I guess for us, being all homies with these guys and then seeing them finally have a track to race on, and that was dope. It was dope to see Tony.
So cool.
Fucking Shred Moto out there, an OG, a pioneer, and all this stuff out there on the track. But it's like, even these guys couldn't really afford to keep it going. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you look at there was like that initial, like Tony Salima, Eric Stahl, Lucas Gibo, and like Joker. And so there were those guys that were some of the first ones to just do the track thing on the Harley. And they're out there on dynos and stuff like that. And then, I guess, I don't know if it was drag. I don't know. Was it Robbie with Alloy Art? Because Robbie started to get in. Robbie was really early, right? It was like Robbie and Paul.
I mean, I would love to have that conversation with whether it's Rob, Bidos.
I would love to hear from those
find
guys.
That out. But good idea at the right time with the wrong execution, in my opinion.
Yeah, and like Dan and I were talking about, he was kind of like, well, do you know what happened and I'm like,
oh yeah, I know what happened.
And there's all that stuff, the way that it went down between Moto America and Rob and BRL, like it didn't help anything. Yeah. But I think that Rob, I thought that, can be completely honest, I thought it was already going to be dead. But I think that they saved BRL with that new class, that street class, where it's like, it's very, like it's not like Steve's street bike.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that Steve's bike could even run in that street class. I think it's too modified.
Yeah.
And so they've got like a very, very mild build, which kind of levels the playing field to people that want to go and do the track thing. Yeah. Because it's like, it's pretty basic bagger build. Like, it's like you do a little
that's what the very first one was. The very first Moto America King of the Baggers, when when drag was still a part of it, we did a watch party in this room on this TV and was watching Tony and fucking the Willie Pig and the other guys.
Yeah. Logan was out there.
It was like, it was fun.
Wasn't Josh Heron out there too?
I think so.
I think Josh was on like the performance machine bike, I think.
Yeah. Then that was the year the Indian just fucking mopped.
Yeah.
Everybody. And I was like, fuck.
Yeah,
Tyler.
You couldn't have any, you couldn't like.
Yeah, the rules made it better for Indian and not so much Harley.
Yeah.
But this is the concept with like the whole breakup. I don't know the conversations that took place.
Yeah.
But let's just put the cards on the table. You're Moto America that has the entire production and everything you need to do this thing. You're an idea guy that has an idea that came to you to put these bikes on the deal. And then after that's on the table, like, what value do you have now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's fucked up. It's one of those the things I hate hearing in my life, but this is one of those situations. It's just business.
And Moto America, until you've done like 2 seasons and you've walked into control room trying to like go to your rider rep, you're like, man, I just don't feel like, I miss a grid by 7/10. And if they would have given me a provisionary at Coda, I would have made the A main, and then all I had to do was get out there and finish the race, and I would have gotten second place in the series. And I freaking busted my butt for those points.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the sacrifices I'm here talking about, and I'm like, come on. I'm like 0.7 of a second at Coda, which is a 3.4 mile track.
Yeah.
I'm not getting lapped. Like, it's not like, and yes, my bike was at a disadvantage from like Tyler O'Hara and Jeremy McWilliams on their stinking factory FTRs. Like, yes, but I wasn't going to get lapped. I'm like, come on. And he's like, oh no, air cool guys. You just gotta do what you're going to do. And it's like, all these guys would go in with all these complaints and they'd go and be like, oh, I can't believe it. I'm like, whoa. Stop looking at this as like this fun thing you're doing. This is a business. Mm-hmm. So if you walked into a business and something was wrong, would you still have the mentality that you're standing here with right now? Yeah. Or would you go, oh, this is a business and they're trying to make money? And that's what it is.
And that's what it is. And like, I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not saying it was right.
No, but let's just call it what it is. Spade's a spade.
But you had mentioned a while ago that like hooligan racing in these type of series is hooligan is it's what's fun to watch.
Yeah, it's
right?
wild.
Because it's, but here's the thing about this is what goes down. More people get involved, more people
money,
want more rules.
Yep.
And it weeds out all the fun.
Yes.
And it becomes like professional guys that want rules to protect themselves against people that don't have all the professional shit going on. And then it becomes just another class. It's just another class.
And that's, that's where like I'm skipping Daytona. I'm not going to race because I don't have a bike, but I'm going to do a Pan America. And I have so many people that are like, dude, like, why are you going to run a Pan America? Why would you even, like, you were thinking about an FTR? Why an FTR? Like, get on a KTM Duke. Get on a Yamaha MT-09. That's a naked sport bike. That thing's made for the track. You just do a little tweak here, a little tweak there, throw some safety wire, good to go. And it's like, because I'm a hooligan. I want to be on a hooligan bike. And it is a disadvantage. I mean, unless when you've got factory backing.
Yeah, but it's like there's faster motorcycles, 100%, but it's funner to do it on these bikes that aren't technically.
I want to do it on a Pan America.
Yeah.
My nickname's Charlie-Davidson, I want to go and I want to kind of like, that's my roots. Like that's what has kept me on 2 wheels. And, and I wish I could race. I wish I could race my stinking 2021 M8. I mean, if I could figure out how to cut 200 pounds off the thing, I would. But
lithium battery.
I'm just gonna go e-bike. That's what it'll be. Just forget. Yeah,
lithium battery and a good diet. You'll be
man. I'm gonna have to like cut a leg off or something.
Yeah, you're already pretty thin.
I'm pretty thin already. Yeah. So, but like the air cooled bikes, like there's just. And what Roland and Cam, like the vision that they had for the air-cooled bike, that whole class, is they basically wanted like one moto builds, like some of those one-off, was it Arch looking kind of bikes? So like Keanu's thing, like those bikes, they wanted to see people come in and like build their version of that and then race it. But the problem is chromoly frames and the time. That gets expensive. Then you're going to go and throw a rider on it. They're going to go and ball the thing up. And then
it's expensive hobby, man.
It's expensive.
Yeah, so. Definitely wouldn't downplay it. I think it's very, very important that racing exists within these worlds.
Yeah.
But again, going back to like, I haven't paid attention to the Moto America stuff as much as of like the last year and a half, because it seems like a lot of the, you would just catch the highlights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like I'll watch ESPN the next day and see who won. Cool. But I've always felt like these Moto America, BRL, they are the UFC or the fucking Don King, and their job is to promote a fight, a race, right? How do you promote a race? You talk about all the things going on, and you have this promotion going on to get people to want to buy, whether it's downloads or whatever, however they're doing the thing.
They've got the streaming service. I mean, it's identical. I mean, it really is.
So,
There's
and when you do
service.
that, you create like that whole I want to check this out because there's media. And when you have media now, there's an actual like company that's like, who's racing on this? Let me see if I can get them some tires or see if we can get our logos on some of these bikes that are getting all this attention. Without the attention, there's no money.
It
for the
creates
racers.
the exchange or the opportunity for the exchange.
And you have to have sponsorships to race. You can't afford it. And these companies probably exist, but it doesn't, like, there's no eyes on it.
Yeah.
BRL doesn't have any eyes on their stuff because there's not really. But even if they were making stuff through social media, like just like different clips and posts and whatever. I mean, dude, I could live stream an event with my setup here. I wouldn't be able to get as far away and do things, but this is over 10 grand worth of shit in here just to do this.
Yeah.
So if you think, okay, well, you got you're gonna do like the track in Sonoma or the one in fucking in Salt Lake, and you got to put all these transmitters, all these cameras from all over the track with operators to get the signal back to there, then run it through all this big computing power to go onto like a live streaming service. Like that's $100 grand. Easy.
Yes.
So
and Moto America has that.
Yeah, they probably own that.
They own it. Yes.
So they don't have to pay.
They don't have to think about it. They don't have to go in. Like that's part of.
Yeah.
I mean, they're running with that already.
BRL had to hire that.
Yeah.
And the company they hired was used to doing like MMA fighting, where they're in one spot. They can set all the angles and the lighting and everything's good. So if you got money and you're spending $100 grand or whatever the case, whatever it was, to cover the cost to make it a video, well, then you don't have a marketing budget now.
Yeah.
So you spend $100 grand, and if you could have sold X amount of streams at a certain amount of money, then now there could have been a deal where like the streaming company, I think is a production company, where they're like, hey, well, we'll do it for 30 grand and then we'll split ticket sales this way.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm pretty sure that's probably what happened.
Yeah.
Which is why when they weren't getting any kind of return on it is why they weren't doing it anymore. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So there has to be, that's why I think that even though I think there was a sense of urgency going on with this, but they should have, in my opinion, and you can have this one for free. If they would have spent 2 years traveling to little tracks and building up people coming to tracks, getting their licenses, and had a social media team just focusing on that and pumping it through there and got more hype across the country in these different events, then you come back to the table, it's 2020. In 2023, we're starting the first race at Chuckwalla or Willow Springs or whatever the case may be. Those aren't the same ones, right? No.
Yeah, they're two different tracks.
So you give people time to build up, and then you create excitement and hype.
Yeah.
And then it starts. And now you have like people that are, starting this whole series. And when people like, the goal is to get people to ride more bikes, which then they have to service their bike more, which then means they want to go to drag and buy more shit.
Yep.
Or hey, while I'm in there doing an oil change, let's throw a cam chest in there.
Yeah.
Now Fueling's getting some money. Like there's just all these things that kind of roll together. Marketing.
Makes sense because by doing that, then you're still going to have the big players that are making all the events. But then when you go out to Texas, that's what they do in drag racing. You've got these big guys that come in with these big names, but then you have all the local legends. They're going to show up because the track day is in their area.
Yeah.
And they're going to show up. They're going to do their thing. They're going to pay their fees. They're going to race because they want to race that big name that's in town.
No, well, I mean, on the Harley thing, they want to race because there's going to be, there's going to be a Harley Davidson or V-twin presence at Crescent over there, Motorsport Ranch, right? Yeah. That's like the time that I'm probably like, you know what? For $250 or $300, whatever it is, like I think I wouldn't mind getting out there on a track day today.
Yeah,
that makes sense because you're bringing the circus to town.
Exactly.
And everybody's more comfortable to go out there to go try it out. You know?
So, I'm still in that same chat group. Steve's in there, Bobby, Bob Parker's in there. We've got guys, all those West Coast guys. We got like Josh is in it, Lenny's in it. So what we all, and Cody Melton, all those guys. So what we actually were like, our brainstorming is we're like, man, like, and the way that I put it is like, BRL probably need to look at it more of like NCAA, because you don't have somebody you don't have like Texas Tech just traveling all over the country. It's regional.
Yeah.
And so the BRL, the people that are racing in BRL do not have Moto America money.
Yeah.
And so if you set it up of like, okay, so regional, like, okay, we've got these 3 tracks for like the Northeast, over here for the West, and like focusing more, I mean, like SoCal is where it started.
Yeah.
And then it like starts to get this momentum, and BRL starts it, and then it's like, oh, and let's take them over to here. Oh, let's take them to this side of the country. Oh, let's take them over. And it's it's financial limitations of tracks. So like, I don't want to act like this is just like some easy logistical thing and like, oh gosh, why didn't they do a better job? Like, it's not easy.
Well, if you would have did what I said, if they were doing what I said, then they would have built relationships with tracks across the country before they started doing races at them.
Exactly. And so doing the time, putting in the time, and even like Ride Smart, like
I would have partnered with them.
That was my first track day.
Ride Smart's nationwide, right?
No, they started.
Texas?
They're Texas,
okay,
but they'll do like they'll do Barber over in Alabama. They'll do a few like miscellaneous tracks. They'll do like a track day here or there at some of those, and I think that they're starting to branch more outside of Texas. But Ride Smart for the most part has been like, I think, centralized out of Houston.
Yeah.
I think. But yeah, they hit Crescent, they hit Houston, they do the day at Coda, G2, over in Anna, then Eagle Ridge? I always forget the full name of it. I'm trying to get a membership there.
Eagle Mountain Pass or something?
It's
over in Dallas that Katie was talking about.
It's up by Decatur. It's but yeah, that track. Yeah, that one. But I mean, but seriously, you could do a Texas series.
Yeah.
Like you could. We have these tracks here, and yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe you could do that. Maybe you could have a series in Texas and California and your hotbeds of where it is, and then have it to where
take your points leaders, and then you go, okay, everybody that just won, the top 3 guys from here, and here, we're gonna do like the national championship.
Yeah, and then they could actually fund that and pay the bills for you to get on the track for the winners of each one of these places, because you're only talking about 10 guys maybe.
Yeah.
So
that was kind of the idea that we had.
That's not a bad one at all.
Is actually doing that more regional stuff, and so, but
the racing thing is good. It pushes the envelope. It keeps bikes, people interested in it. It makes sense to just do whatever you can to keep it alive. But and you got to commend like Harley and Indian both for jumping in full head, like keeping it going. I think they're actually helping out other people that aren't necessarily that are privateers, but like bigger companies that can afford to stay on the roads.
And both,
yeah,
Harley and Indian have both. I saw that last season.
Yeah,
where they are helping more privateer, and then like Indian just announced, they brought in was it Loris Boz?
Yeah,
who he was
MotoGP dude.
MotoGP guy that raced Ducati Superbike last season. And he was right up there in the points. I mean, he's a ripper. And so now there's 3 bikes for Indian. And, I'm sure that Harley knows what's up. Like they've got to be, they see that stuff. They hear about that stuff. So, and there's a lot of, there's like big announcements that are coming in the Moto America stuff. Like, there's some really cool stuff going on. And like Super Hooligan, like I don't see Super Hooligan dying. I see Super Hooligan just turning into a regular Moto America class.
Yeah.
That's what I think will happen. So to me, that's how it dies, is that there's no room for all my air-cooled buddies and me. It's going to be like pro, and it's going to be full team, and it's going to be like full rigs come in, and there'll be a few stragglers here and there in the back of the grid. But that's because, like you said, as more focus comes in, more money comes in, and then there's the contingencies, and then you get more sponsorships, and it's just once the money comes in, then the rules come in, because you got the guys that are trying to protect themselves because they're pro riders, and they're like, man, I don't want Joe Smo Dingleberry over here on the track.
It's like you were talking about when you're in that corner and you know that dude's tire. He's counting on you to do your job of racing.
Yeah, you have to
straighten up in the wrong time, you know?
And it's a dangerous sport.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. And, I don't want to act like it's not, because they're definitely, in my several years of doing this now, there have been times where I'm on the track and there's somebody else that created a really hairy situation because of a poor decision. And, with the Super Hooligan class and the BRL and everything, all that V-twin racing, the guys like me that, I didn't grow up on the track. We were able to just kind of jump right in and throw a pro number.
Because it was a new thing.
Because it was a new thing.
And then
it was innovative.
And you were able to kind of jump in and go full force into it.
Exactly.
They needed people to get involved,
They needed a pulse, you know, at the very beginning. They needed that. And so it did. I saw an opportunity and I just jumped right in. And but it's changing, it's growing. Moto America is a business, all that. But yeah. So I guess, so where I'm at now is I'm living in Fort Worth.
Yeah, what made you move here?
I just needed a change. And with my family being in Arkansas, I'm like, man, there's such a thriving and growing motorcycle scene here, which dude, you guys, you've been such a big part of that, and I've got so many buddies out here. I can go into almost any dealership and it's like, oh, Charlie, dude, Texas Harley. I go in there all the time just to go see those guys. All the guys in the service department, they're my buddies.
Yeah.
I just walk right into the back and just go hang out with Kevin, hang out with Chris. Got my buddy Noah in there. Just a bunch of good dudes that just love to be on two wheels.
Yeah.
They work, they live, they ride, they're doing it. It's just good dudes, good people. And there's so many people out here that are in the scene. And, I've been out in Midland and I would just, when I could, I made how many T-Bar Tuesdays did I make over the last 3 years? 2, it'd just be me happening to be in town and I can show up. And I'm excited to just kind of get my base planted. And I still go out to Midland all the time. I have my apartment out there. I got a corporate apartment. I still have to go out there and work. But I see this as being more home for me now, this area. And I just want to be close to tracks. And I want to be close to community that's out here. And I want to help try and grow that community. And so that's getting into the shop that I have. That's a big part of my goal with that. And just trying to create an atmosphere that's just encouraging growth and more community. And, and I'm not going to be well, I'm sober, so nobody can ever drink at my shop. It's not going to be anything like that. I don't want people getting all freaking shit-faced, I want there to be a level of respect, not for me and my sobriety, because I don't have a problem. I can be around anybody. I can sit at bars by myself and watch people get torn up. People offer me drinks. I'm like, oh, no, I just drink water. I'm good. So that's not a problem for me, but I just I'm going to see just some atmosphere created that I can just be a part of where I don't claim to be some master mechanic. I'm a good mechanic. When you wreck your bike as many times as I have, you have to be a good mechanic because I've thrown that thing back together and I was able to go and, I can build motors, I can fix most things that I need to fix, or I call up Moose or I call up, Justin, I've got this community here that I had Bailey. And Bailey and I, our work schedules, he'd be doing his thing because he's working for an equipment company there out of Big Spring that's doing oil and gas stuff. So like we both worked a lot. And so we didn't really get to hang out that much, even though we were like 30 minutes away from each other. So those are a lot of the goals that I had for coming here, is just really just trying to build into the community. And then something else that I want to see more of is giving back. Because I really think that there's a lot of good people that are in this community. And I think that there's more opportunities for us to give back outside of our community. And that's just something that has kind of been on.
I'm broke. So, and time and money are two things I don't have.
Yeah. And those are all things that you need. But there's
enough toy runs. There's enough. Like, what do you want to? What's your idea of giving back? Because I'm a selfish prick. So,
man, I think. So this is how I came to this realization. This is like what kind of came into my head is that. So with my ministry background, I've had a lot of my life where I have just poured into other people and trying to just be available, and like I'm Renaissance man, jack of all trades, master of none, which like when you walk into a church atmosphere, if they know that you can build things, you can wrench on things, like you're going to get really popular probably for the wrong reasons. And you have to be able to say no, which I learned the hard way because I wouldn't say no to anything and I got burnt out. But I just feel like for me personally, as I went through my phase of like going through my divorce where I was drinking and I was using alcohol as medication, that like in my sobriety, what I'm able to do is like, so for me in my life, I've been able to just give back to people and just like friends that I've had that are not motorcycle people, but I've fixed cars. And I've like done house projects and like just like little things like that. Like I'm not saying that we need to come in and like start a school, and like, well, I say that I would love it's expensive, but I would love to see like there's I don't remember which college it is, but they've got like a really cool automotive program. It's one
Marcus works at.
Yeah. So Marcus. So
Collin County.
Like, I don't know if there's. So dirt bikes are not free,
Yeah.
But dirt bikes are a heck of a lot cheaper than most race bikes, and you can go and put a dirt bike with some supermoto wheels, and you can put somebody on the track for really cheap doing supermoto stuff. And I'm gonna try and go out. Like I'm desperately trying to make it out to Sonoma. Because Tyler O'Hara and Hawk Mazada, they're doing like all those mini moto things. And it's like through Moto America, it's like all connected. It's AMA stuff, but it's just trying to create the opportunity for younger kids to get onto the track for cheaper and sooner. And that's something that I didn't have the luxury of. Like I jumped in at age like 37. If I could have jumped in at age 7, I would imagine I'd probably be dead. Let's be real. But I imagine I'd be probably a lot more effective on the track at this point. Cause like it's been a lot of just like getting out there and running, where if I had started at, 10 years old, I would have been a lot more comfortable.
That's a family structure thing more than it is just an individual thing. So you when you go see these kids on dirt bikes at 7, 8, 9 years old, they're not driving that thing up there themselves. That's a family push thing. So when you talk about like trying to help smaller, younger kids get on the bikes, I mean, that's in the parenting. That's in that world, right? That's an environment that breeds that. Like you go to Southern California, they got all that BLM land. You don't have to go pay money to be on a track.
Yeah.
You go get some dirt bikes in an RV and you go out and pull off the highway somewhere and camp out for the weekend, and they can go ride trails all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So certain areas breed more stuff. That's why Temecula is the hub of, dirt biking and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. And Texas is tough because
everything's owned. Yeah.
You don't have all that public land. And so,
and I'm just saying this like as a way to kind of, maybe further your point.
Yeah.
The way that we've done it here in Dallas is about creating opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. if you create an opportunity for a scene to thrive, it will. Now, trust me, there's people that come in all the time with grand schemes of creating their own brands, their own things. Let's do our own shit here, our own shit there. Things grow when everybody works together. Mm-hmm. But if you create like opportunity for people to come out, whether it's a bike night, you know, whether is, you know, what we need here in Dallas, what we need help with is like rides.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody wants to do a bike night. We're good on bike nights.
Yeah.
Right. We don't see many people posting up like, hey, we're doing a Texas or we're going on a Possum Kingdom Lake loop ride. We're going to lunch here. Nobody wants to organize that type of shit.
Which SoCal, all over the place. Everybody's like, yo, kickstands up at 10. You know, they roll in and there's coffee and donuts or this and that. And then they've got a ride. But they also have like Big Bear and canyons.
We have cool shit to ride. I mean, Fort Worth is the edge of some really great riding.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You go further southwest, like y'all went to Loco Coyote and Glen Rose and all that stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say Glen Rose is a great ride down there.
Is it Arkansas Mountains? Is it, you know, Talamina Byway? No, but it's still dope.
Yeah.
You're not sitting in traffic, you know. We don't really have a huge deer issue up here.
Yeah.
So you can rip pretty hard and not have to really worry about anything. But there are a lot of things that this community up here in Dallas needs help with. And it's more on those kind of things.
Yeah.
Set up a track day at whatchamacallit. You know, Katie is
ECR. It's
ECR. Yeah, that's what it is. ECR. Yeah.
So our one of our bike night regulars, Katie, she probably rides better than all of us.
Yeah.
I kind of want to put it to the test and see though. Just take her to Talamina one day and see if she can keep up.
So we were actually talking about that like the other day when we went to Glen Rose. We were talking about that. I asked her if she'd have gone to Talamina and she was like, no. So she didn't even know where it was. So I sent it to her. She's like, oh, that looks badass. I was like, we can plan it as a day ride. Like, it's a 500-mile day. It's a long day.
Yeah.
Do it. I've done
That's some good riding out there. That's,
you know, we try to do, our bike night is simple, you know, and it gets a lot of traction because of the podcast. And then we have guys like you that come into town or people are passing, they want to check it out. But the truth about it is it's very simple.
Yeah.
There's no bells and whistles. You know, you could show up to bike night and it's fucking 10 deep or it could be 70 deep.
Yeah.
We don't really do 100 people bike nights. That's not the goal. We don't want to blow it out of the water. Bigger doesn't make it better.
Yeah.
You know, but opportunity is the one thing that if we had more people in Dallas creating opportunities for things to happen, it's Friday. Hey, we want to ride to so-and-so tomorrow. Like put it out there, you know, hey, I'm organizing a ride. I think a lot of people are scared to take that step and be the guy. Hey, we're doing this. Love to get people out, you know, tag all the pages, tag all the people. We're going to have lunch here. We're going to do this. And then we'll be back here by this time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like simple shit like that, you know?
I think you're right. Cause I think people are just always scared that if they put it out, what if nobody comes?
Yeah, that's the point.
And they don't want that fear of failure. Or they don't want to feel like they're trying to be in.
People got to let go of the number thing. Numbers do not make things good or better. I mean, better or worse.
Yeah.
If you put out a ride and there's 3 of you show up, then go have a blast.
It's the experience.
The next time people are like, hey,
quality of the experience.
Exactly.
Like that's what it comes down to.
If you go and you go, this is going to suck because there's only 2 other people here. I'm like, yeah, dude, you need to change the way you think and you perceive what's going on. Like you want to go to something, like you could be a part of something that grows here instead of you want to go be a spectator of someone else's enjoyment and time because, you know, like that's what you want. Like you want to go watch other people. There's a lot of people being somewhere validate its existence to you in some kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we need. I mean, we need more people up here that want to do stuff. And it's, you know, forever it's been, you know, myself and the T-Bar Tuesday page and then Fort Worth kind of has a bike night that goes on and then it kind of falls.
Is it a Dirty Crow or are they still using
it's
that?
Up and down. I think that they're revamping some things right now, which is cool, man. Like I think it's dope. You know, it builds community. I'm glad that we're not in that phase we used to be where it was like, you know, drama.
Laney that sets that up comes to our bike night. Like,
yeah.
Like, and it's all love. He just, you know, it's in North Richmond, so it's not a Dirty Crow anymore.
Oh, no, that's right. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah. And like, with the shop, you know, like I'm about to have 2 lifts in there. And some of that is, you know, like I don't want to, it's not just like a public shop, you know, I'm not trying to open a shop, but I just want to have space and like with the whole community thing, I want to, if somebody's like, hey,
It's a dope spot, man. It looks cool as hell.
It's cool. I love just the hoist.
Yeah.
I just like load and unload stuff just all day. Just like it's so great. Like just like like I unloaded that lift and just and I'm like,
yeah.
I've wanted this since I was a child. Like to be able to just have that. It's dope. But yeah, just having a spot where, if I got a homie that's like, man, I've never done a cam job. Like,
yeah.
Bring it, man. I've done cam jobs. Like that's easy. We can
cool.
go and so like I want to have space to be able to do stuff like that. And if I'm able to take any of my knowledge and like pass that on to somebody and help somebody, then like that's cool. That's
when you hang out in shops, like that's where sometimes you see someone doing, like we said, how we learn.
Yeah.
How Devin said, it's like we're visual. So when I see someone do something, that's when I get inspired or not to want to be able to try it.
Yeah.
So you're hanging out in the shop. I mean, I spent my whole childhood in shops. So that's why like I understand it. Like we put it out there, like I hit him up this weekend. I was like, hey, I got to work.
Yeah.
But you guys can stop by and hang out if you like. But, a lot of people don't want to just go hang out in shops, but I get it. Some people do, some people don't.
I love it, man.
I personally love it too.
I can just hang out in a shop and like it's hard for me not like if you're doing your thing and you're like, yo, come hang out, it would be really tough for me not to get like I want to dive in, I want to help, I want to participate. So like to just like sit there and be like hands and like that's hard for me because I do like I want to get in it, but and I don't have like so when I lived I graduated from college and then went and spent one summer back in central New York. Like, I hadn't been there in years. And I worked at my brother-in-law's auto body shop. So it was like him and his dad and his brother. And they were like my brothers growing up.
Yeah.
And so, but like thinking back to like, dude, like that shop to me, the memories that I have, even before that summer that I worked there, even just the times that like when Jimmy B at Bianchi Auto Body, when he's in the shop and then he's like, hey, come on out, hey, guys, come watch this. I'm doing this thing. Dude, like I ate that up.
Yeah.
Like I love, that was probably 15, 16 years old, running around on their property and then going to the shop. And then when I went back, I turned 25 that summer. So I was like 24 to 25 working in the shop. And dude, those are some of the best memories of my life.
Yeah.
Like those, I can sitting here talking about it. I can remember just certain things that happened and certain cars that we worked on and just.
It's seat time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when the paint shop that I worked at that I really developed a lot of the custom paint skills. Like I was so in love with this stuff. Like I probably could have paid him to be working there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he would work 7 days a week. And then sometimes the airbrush guy and the graphic guy would also be in there on the weekend. So I would do the sanding and all the shit jobs all week. But when I got off at 5 and they were staying till 7, I was there till 7.
Yeah.
On Saturday, I would come back up there and just hang out and watch.
Yeah.
And so it was like, and I explained that to people that would want to come here and apprentice. I don't really get that as much as I used to. It used to happen a lot. People want to come learn up here, but they just don't. They don't have the same desire. Because when I was learning how to do this stuff, there was no internet. There was no kind of like a.
That's a really good point.
There was no social media
different
credit that you get from learning any of this stuff. That was just simply like, I want to know how to do that, and I would rather do that for a living than going and doing what I could be doing or what somebody I know I went to high school with is doing.
Yeah.
So like, I want to do that. And, they went to college and they have that job. Well, I got off at 4:00. Like, what's it going to be? If I could see something happen right there for another 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then also like it's building rapport with the boss that I had there. He's like, this kid really fucking is hungry. He loves this shit. And I'm not just sitting there with my thumb in my ass. I'm sweeping. I'm like, hey.
Dude, I was just thinking about how many times I swept that floor.
Dude, I'm a master sweeper.
Like if you've actually done any sort of grunt work in an auto body shop, you can sweep a floor.
And you know how to sweep a floor because someone told you you're fucking doing it wrong.
Yeah. you're not coming in making a freaking cloud of dust.
Yeah.
Just like there's technique to sweeping the floor.
My paint booth, I need to film this one day, just a time lapse.
Yeah.
I use like just a little kitchen broom.
Yeah.
Tight bristles, short stroke, the whole thing. Keeping it all the dust down, keeping it tight, putting it all, you know what I mean? So it's like a thing to it. And, I don't know. It's just like, I could never not have a shop. You know what I mean? I would love to work in a business where I didn't have to get dirty every day, but I would still love to be able to get off work and then come into the garage or whatever and play with tinker with the tools and shit like that. Yeah. So, I think it's cool what you're doing over there. You know what I mean? How long are you here versus back and forth?
I spend more time here than in Midland.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's probably like 60-40. And that's because I have some freedom with my schedule and I'm intentionally like I've kind of did my time in purgatory, And when I go back to Midland, honestly, I love it.
Yeah.
Like to go and visit Midland for me now is very familiar, obviously. It takes you 10 minutes to get anywhere.
Yeah.
And there's just certain things. I've got my little local coffee shop. I got my gym. I roll in. I do my work, knock out what I got to knock out. I go to the gym. I got the same restaurants that I eat at. And so it's just like really very predictable and very familiar. And so that is nice, but I just needed to mix it up.
Yeah.
And so, and
what what part of Fort Worth are you in?
The crackhead part.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So
I got a fence.
The whole thing?
Goodness. Yeah. I'm southeast.
Southeast, yeah. So
I'm Lancaster.
Okay,
Yeah. So it's pretty close to, what is it, that Texas Wesleyan? Like I can see.
Yeah, off 287.
Yeah, so there. I'm like right over just north of the university,
like
right
Beach
there.
Street area and all that stuff.
Yeah, just like kind of beach to Lancaster. So that stretch right there.
Yeah, I mean it's not too bad.
It's not bad.
It's you go 2 more.
There's
blocks.
there's some homeless.
Yeah,
there's a lot of homeless there.
Is that by Forest Hill?
Yeah, well, so my son, where him and his mom lives, is off 820 and Meadowbrook. So it's like one of the last exits. I don't know. Telling people on the podcast, I'm sorry. But it's just
the blue house with the
It's just over there. It's kind of hood where he's at, but it's still, it is what it is.
It's not that bad.
You're not gonna find a cool ass shop in a really nice neighborhood that has character like the one that you got.
And
so
not that you're paying $2,200 a month for.
Exactly.
So so I knew I was very aware, like I already kind of knew the area when I went and checked it out for the first time. And I'm like, okay, I know. And so then when I rolled up, it's like, well, it's kind of out of the way. It's like off and back and it's got a fence and it's all locked up. So it's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm glad you're here. I mean, it's exciting to have you here because of just what we were talking about. Like we want more people to come into Dallas, Fort Worth and just help grow the scene. You know what I mean? But it's always about, just, I don't even know the right word to say. It's just 7 years we've been building Bike Night here. We've been building the scene. We've had so many people that kind of come in. We've had people kind of come into like the space here and like help it grow. And then they kind of evolve out or move away or whatever. It happens, no heart, not mad or anything. It's like, and it's all kind of helped and it keeps everything alive. And then when people find bikes and they end up finding our scene, it's like dope. What blows my mind, and Dev and I talk about this a lot because we kind of live on this side of town here. We'll be going to lunch or whatever, and there'll be a fucking Dyna and a performance bagger ripping down the road. Like, who is that?
Yeah.
Because it's not SoCal big where we're like, just random people could be out here. It's like you need to check in. Who
no, I've already. Every once in a while, man, in like the Fort Worth area, you'll all be out on a bike and it might be somebody on like an ST that's done some work to it. And like you're like ripping by and you both kind of, like my one little buddy, I say my little buddy, he's like 6'4", but whatever. Kyle. So we were out in Monahans, Texas, and I was just stopping at a gas station and I'm about to walk out and he's walking in and he's got a fueling t-shirt and I don't know what hat. And I like start to go, hey. And he's like, what? I'm like, do you know what fueling is? Because like in like Midland, like nobody knows any of this stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? I'm like, did you steal that shirt from somebody? Like, do you actually? And he's like, yeah, I got a fueling cam plate and this and that on this bike, and I got that. And I'm like, where do you live? He's like, oh, I'm over in Midland. Like, and I'm like, brother, you know, and he's seriously, I mean, he's like family to me now, you know, and I have to say this before I stinking forget. So like I've been doing the build, taking the race bike, turning into a street bike again.
Yeah.
You know, and I still want to periodically, I want to take it out to Chuck.
Yeah.
And I still go rip with all the air cool guys when I can. But like TTI, Lindell, and then Los Angeles Fair and Co., all those guys have helped me out so much.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I have got to make sure that I go and like, but like Adolfo with Los Angeles Fair and Co., dude freaking went out of his way this past weekend while I was in SoCal, boxed everything up for me, has me roll in. He's showing me new stuff he's working on. He's like 3D printing, like special, like on the newer Lowrider S and ST, that center console.
Yeah.
So I moved the gauges up and I'm going to run like that console, but I've got like the carbon fiber deal. He printed off like special colors that like match my bike and just going way out, like way above and beyond, you know, just like, and he's somebody that jumped onto my racing stuff pretty early. And like, you know,
Didn't he helped out Cody Melton, right?
was he doing stuff with, I don't know.
I feel like
so Cody used to run
on his sporty.
Oh, yeah. On the sporty, yeah. And then like Ravi Patel, like with Savage, was it Ravi Savage? I don't know. Like Ravi's been sponsored by him through his stunt riding and all his racing. So like Adolfo's been really active, honestly, in the racing and probably doesn't get enough noise for being one of those companies that is helping out. And like for the Pan America, you know, he went and he runs to the other shop and he has like an old, I think it was actually an old tail section off of some like 70s like Sportster or something. But it's just the fiberglass and I'm going to build a freaking subframe and he's going to throw he's going to be like, hey, if you can make this work, I'll do it in carbon for you. And so it's just been really cool to have somebody, because especially with the Harleys, just anything you can do to cut the weight, man.
Yeah.
They're just so heavy. And when you take all that steel, you know, when you've got a front fender, rear fender, or even the tail sections, those tail section on a Pan America, being able to knock that off and go to like a carbon fiber, just like seat setup. Like, I mean, that's pounds, you know? And so, but yeah, so I just had to throw some love for those guys. Cool. They've been like good friends of mine and just like, it's been cool just to have support like that and people that are working with me on this. And Indy and Larry with the bar and riser setup, like they's thinking, I don't know, you know, it's like the built-in Mickey Mouse deal that like Alex, FXCLS Brooklyn. Yeah. You know, he's got those gold on I think on his Dyna, I think. But yeah, it's just, you know, I'm just some dude. And it's just been like really humbling.
It was cool, like listening to Dan's podcast that you were on, and then kind of me finding out more about some of your background. Yeah. And seeing how quickly, I think it's your personality and just your kind of like positivity that you kind of bring around when you're around stuff, that you built a big, vast network across the country in less than 3 or 4 years. Yeah. By showing up to things and doing stuff. And you got yourself on a track, you got yourself doing well on a track, you built a lot of relationships and like your sponsorships with, it's like, that's the kind of thing that like when people are wanting to grow their businesses and brands and their presence, like you got to do stuff. Yeah. And I mean, I think that you're a great candidate or a great representation of that kind of, you know.
You got to show up and do the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And man, and I've just been so fortunate and like really just like blessed in the whole process. And it's like the right people, you know, and I got like a little, like, I'm not new agey. Like I'm not, but like, there's so much more than what we see. Yeah. And there's like, like you start looking into even like, it's going to sound new agey, but like vibration kind of stuff. Like there's like spiritual things that go on, and like what you put out, like you get back in a lot of situations. And that's not the point of doing it, but it's like, if you like, and like you are somebody that I look at and like, you are yourself. Mm-hmm. You're not putting a show on for anybody. You're just doing you. And what that does, because when I was young, I would just kind of mold to who I was around. And like, I have a personality that in my immaturity, and like I was talking about with some of the anxiety that I had when I was younger, that I was not confident in who I was. Mm-hmm. And now I am just like,
I mean,
here it is.
Are you supposed to be confident when you're young and you're finding out about yourself?
That's very fair. You know,
yeah,
and
like I was a very insecure person till, I mean, it still pops up here and there.
Yeah.
But you know, like the confidence, like I know people that had it in their 20s. I wish I did. I didn't.
Yeah, and I wasn't one of those people, you know.
But the confidence just, it shuts up that insecurity and it allows you to do the job, get the work done. And you know, I think the most important thing that is hard to find is just integrity. Yeah. You know what I mean? And integrity and people.
You got to work for that, man. Like you have to
just got to stand for something and and be about something. And you know, like I mean, to your point, you know, it's just when you go out, look, everything in my life that I do, when I put more energy into a thing, it gets better. Yeah. But as we all know, life is literally just a big ass scale of how much we put over here means it doesn't work over here.
It's a juggling act.
So I could put a lot of energy into certain things that I love to do, but then I could see the difference in my natural progression of other areas of my life. Yeah. I'm focusing on paint, so photography is kind of taking a wayside. I'm playing on the camera too much. I need to focus on paint. That's what pays the bills. Yeah. You know, all this, or I'm leaning too much into all the friends and bike life, and I'm not giving my wife enough. Yeah. Right? So you're literally like playing those scales. You know what I mean? You're in, and when you put energy into things, into people, into opportunities and events, like things come from it. Yeah. You know, it's just, you got to build up your house and your life to allow yourself to do more of those things outside of it. You know what I mean? And be intentional when you go out and do things. You know, if you're going to go across the country and say hi to, Bobby Seeger, be intentional with it, and it'll show integrity and who you really are. And then people resonate with that more than if you're out there with like this false flag of who you want them to think you are, because you have an ulterior motive behind it that you want to really get something from them. I really want them to sponsor me, or I want this, or I want that, or what can I get out of this relationship, instead of like, man, thank you for, what you are carrying on Indian Larry's traditions and blah, blah, blah. And it goes a lot further than other things. You know what I'm saying?
And, I think one of the things that, I don't want to just like talk about myself, but like, I love people. Yeah, I do. And there's shitty people. Like, I mean, let's be real. It's just, that's life. But
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I feel like when you work on yourself a lot, and that sounds super like put some crystals in my hand, right?
No, but I have worked on myself, so I know exactly.
You see where other people are in that process, or if they're not even trying, but you see where they are. Yeah, and it's kind of it takes me back to like maybe you're feeling a little judgy, like the people in the Bible Belt in the church, where they coming in like, oh, this motherfucker. But like, I was at the gas station today, and this young lady was in there, and she was just not put together. Yeah, just lazy. Yeah, right. And that's kind of off topic, but it was just kind of like fresh on my mind. And I'm like, man, like you're not even presenting to the world yourself in a way that could even be taken seriously. Yeah, you know what I mean. And that's judgy and kind of.
No, I mean like okay, but there's also.
It's not that. That's not the analogy I wanted to use for that comment.
No, but like I mean, I see. I hear what you're saying. Yeah. And like, but there's a point where you have to be able to look. Okay, so I feel like every human is essentially looking for the same thing. They're looking for love. They're looking for acceptance. And most of us, and everybody's parents.
Purpose.
I'm sorry?
Purpose.
Purpose? Yeah, absolutely. Purpose? Absolutely. And so there are these fundamental things that humans are looking for in their existence. And when you come out of like, okay, we're talking about like, oh, when I was in my 20s and you're like, well, how could you have been? So if you aren't shown, some parents just do a really great job. And then there are other parents that are doing their best.
Yeah.
And their best leaves you with a lot of room for development.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's really easy to look at people and just be like, oh my God. And, even when I said that, like, some people are just shitty people. Well, there are some people that are just the right way to say it. They're really broken.
Yeah.
There's some really broken people, and they either don't have the right tools or they don't have the right opportunities, or they might just be totally content.
Yeah.
Just being broken, and they're just going to stay in that. Or maybe like I wasn't working on myself when I was going through my divorce. I was self-medicating through alcohol.
Yeah.
And so I can look back on that time, and I can look at somebody that might be struggling with an addiction or struggling with self-medication to distract themselves from the reality of their life and their existence.
Yeah.
And I can have compassion on them. And so, I appreciate you checking me on that, because you're like, whoa, bro, I thought you didn't like that whole Bible Belt thing. So like, I really do appreciate you checking me on that.
Well, I wouldn't say checking you. I was just more so like,
I mean,
it
fit, but
I have a lot of mentors in my life and a lot of people that I look up to, and for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I chose them as mentors. They didn't choose me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I attach myself to people that I look up to in many different ways. And even them and other people, like, I'm not trying to single them out, but I know a lot of people that they are really good at this thing, and I find so much value in that.
Yeah.
But they are not good at these other things. And sometimes it's a balance. Like, I'm there to kind of help them, maybe if they get to the point of allowing, how to be better at these things.
Yeah.
And some is this and some is that. And so it's like, I think the best thing, and this is another one of life's contradictions. It's like always be changing, but always be the same. You know what I mean? Like, you never want to be the same. Like, it doesn't show growth in how you've become a better and evolved.
Yeah.
But you don't want to change. Does that make sense? Like, you want to change for the good.
I think there's like
you want to evolve, but you don't want to actually change. You want to continue to grow and get better, but you don't want to like completely change course either.
Okay, so the way that this was phrased to me by one of my mentors, it's content while striving. Mm-hmm. So there's like a level of contentment with like, yo, this is who I am. And you don't want to go and like, you don't want to be fake. You don't want to be like, oh, I won the lottery and now I can go and buy a Jaguar and hang out with these other people and forget my friends because I hate all them now because they all suck. Like there are people that would change and leave that base, but like, you also have to still be striving. You don't want to lose yourself in the process.
Yeah.
But you want to shed. I think it's more of like a shedding certain things that aren't, kind of like when Mallory said, well, because it doesn't serve me. So you start to identify the things that don't serve you. Yeah. And you work on those. But you don't lose yourself. And there's still a contentment with just like, I'm Charlie. This is what I got. I'm 5'11" and not 6'1", whatever it is. And
I mean, I've had
that was a really stupid example, but yeah.
I got good points. I have bad fucking examples to give these points or whatever. But no, I'm with you on that. I think that like same way of you talking about going through your divorce and staying drunk just to kind of numb the whole situation and not kind of like go through the process of accepting your role in it in one way or another or whatever the case may be. That's kind of what a lot of people do with every problem in their life. It's always somebody else's fault.
Yeah, the accountability.
Even when everything in my life is pointing to this person did me wrong, I still always try to figure out what it is that I did.
You always have involvement.
Yeah,
like it's just one way or another.
How people handle like things also determine how things get like some people are just not equipped to deal with I wish I was more like this, even though I think I have way too much empathy to be this way, but just straight like call it like I see it right when it happens.
Oh,
like, hey bro, I'm not good with what you just said to me like that. I'm more like
I'm trying. Like I'll go and be like, out of it. Oh, that's cool. And then like 2 days later, I'll be like, hey, that thing kind of, you know what? Now that I think about it, like I have friends that just like in a really compassionate, like kind way, they can just be like, boom, 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 like in the moment. And I'm like, oh, how did you do that? Like, cause and honestly, what I think that honestly, that's a big growth area for me.
Yeah.
That is something that I've really been working on over the last like 10 years, 15 years. Because I used to really, I didn't have any sort of boundaries for myself. And I was just, and you know, I was talking about like the church ministry stuff.
Yeah.
Never could say no. And it was like, if somebody was like, oh man, I know you just worked 80 hours this week and we pay you $1,000 a month, but could you just go and do another? And I'm like, yep, I can do that. And, you know, and so like having those, and man, maybe we're not great at examples. I think we have great things to say. We just got to really like polish up the examples. But
I don't think of myself as a what do you call it, like a self-help kind of guy. Sorry, I didn't write this out first, but no, I get what you're saying. I just think that like accepting that, like, you know, what's the probability that you got it all figured out?
Pretty
in
low.
Life, right?
Pretty low.
Everybody listening to this, myself, everybody in this room, everybody on this fucking street in front of my shop. What's the probability of you got it all figured out? You're perfect in how you do every little interaction, every nuance about your personality, about how you parent or friend or love or, you know, interact with people. Like, always be working on like being a better communicator, being a better, like, I don't like to use the word boundaries because I feel like that's something that gets thrown at me from my wife when we argue, like gaslighting and fucking.
It's like one of those. It's one of those slogans that like Instagram slogans.
Just setting like standards for how you're going to allow other people to treat you.
Yeah,
boundaries.
You know, I think that was actually
that sounds better.
Chat GPT definition of boundaries.
Yeah, that's just kind of it. You know, I mean, the good thing about motorcycling, in my opinion, is that because it allows you to quickly get into the presence of so many different walks of life, that you get kind of exposed to so many different mentalities and ideologies and perspectives in life. And it's hard to be very stringent on this is how I am and this is how I see the world, because you're constantly finding rad people that are from a different walk of life.
Yeah.
A different career, a different everything. And, you know, as you probably know, once you start traveling and you meet people in the rest of the country, like, why am I so close to like 8 or 9 people that live in every corner of this country?
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Because you start to seek out and you find each other, right? Yep. But yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of the thing.
You just reminded me. Bruce says hi.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, hey, man, I'm going to go on the pod. He's like, yeah, Jason. But yeah, like perfect example.
Yeah,
dude.
Bruce is one of my best friends.
Bruce is one of the most, like, I have those 8 to 10 people. Yeah. And like, Bruce is one of those people, man, that just, like, if I was like, Bruce, I need help, Bruce would come to Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no question. Like, I fully believe that. And he's one of those people.
Bruce wants to move here bad. He just wishes that there was a mountain.
I was gonna say, like, do you get all the pictures?
Yeah.
Dude, I love it. Like, he'll go on his walk and I'm like, oh man, I've got to get up there. I got to go visit. But you've been up there, right?
Oh yeah. This is
multiple times, right?
For the last 2 years of this year, we didn't do it, but I would do a road trip up there. Just, dude, up there in the wintertime, for him, it's miserable.
Yeah.
Because he's been seeing it for the whole time. But for me, it's like, it's real winter.
Yeah.
And there's a beauty to that Pacific Northwest in the wintertime.
Absolutely.
The fog, the gloominess to it. Like, it's, I don't know. Like, to me, it's just an experience. It's a way different. Of course, I'm not in it for 6 months, right?
Yeah. You're not having to go into hibernation and actually freaking deal with it.
So I get to go there and be like, oh, this is nice. And he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But his house is amazing, and he's an amazing host too. When you come up, he really shows you, like, he's very like very.
I gotta go.
All right, well, we can wrap it up, man. It's all good. But hey, I do appreciate you
this is awesome.
driving straight here from California and doing all this.
a trip.
All right. He's going to pee, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.